Hello and what's up, GSC Pokemon Challenges fam? Happy 2026! We are back for another episode, in fact, the final episode of the Jasmine Minimum Battles series. We can see that we've had massive success in this section. We haven't seen a whole lot of Pokemon fail, only 4 Pokemon added to the fail column so far. But today we're going to wrap this section up with the final 16 challengers, and they're the best of the best. They're some of the strongest Pokemon in the game. We've got Aerodactyl, Snorlax, the 3 legendary birds of Kanto, Dragonair, Dragonite, Mewtwo, Mew, the 3 legendary beasts of Johto, Tyranitar, Lugia, Ho-Oh, and of course Celebi. We've also got 4 channel member picks, including a brand new Cubone that joined in up there, so we're gonna have to check that one out from the very beginning of the game. It last failed on Falkner, but we've also got Omastar, Kabutops, and Dratini, who are all ready to get in on the action here. Now, I just have to say, I honestly don't expect us to have that many Pokemon fail in this episode, but if anything was going to fail, I think it could be a Pokemon like Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl is coming in with weaknesses to pretty much everything here other than Chuck's Gym, where it will be neutrally affected. Even in Chuck's Gym, it's going to be weak against Surf from that Poliwrath, and it doesn't have great moves to use in this section of the game. So I'm honestly a little nervous for that one. I think we will be able to get it to go eventually though, and I expect that the rest of these Pokemon are going to find a way through. Still, we're gonna have to see how easy or difficult they actually turn out to be, but I'm gonna lead off with the fossil Pokemon, starting with Aerodactyl, and then we'll gradually make our way through the rest of these challengers. And as we come in with our Aerodactyl, we know the moves Wing Attack, Agility, Bite, and Headbutt. We do at least get access to some flinch strats here, which is probably a good thing. I think we'll probably need them, but I definitely think our best play with this Pokemon is to make our way over to the Rocket Hideout. Let's just get levels while we can, because I expect Pryce and Jasmine to be pretty tough for this Pokemon to get through. Hopefully we can get it to go though. Now, it's worth noting that Aerodactyl will get access to a few new moves in this section, including Ancient Power, and if we got really desperate against Jasmine or Pryce, we could technically go for Fire Blast strats with this Pokemon in order to deal some damage that way. It's not like we have a great special attack stat, but it is going to be at least a super effective move against the Steel types and the Piloswine, so those could be the ways that we eventually get through. We're going to try to keep this Pokemon out of the OPTMs category, but it may not be possible in the end. Still, I expect that all of our normal moves will be perfectly fine to get us through the Rocket Hideout, which is all that we need to do right now to gain some experience, and then we'll be ready to move on to the gym leaders themselves. But I think we're definitely going to Chuck's Gym first in this one, since at least our flying type moves are super effective against those fighting types. What I'm really worried about though are the Magnemites that are coming up, and we're going to get a chance to look at some Magnemites right here against Jed and just see how we actually do with this Aerodactyl. I think the best play is probably to go Headbutt here because of the fact that Wing Attack is resisted 4 times, and we can see this looks like it's going to be a 3-hit KO on the Magnemites. Now we can get a couple of flinches there to get through the first Magnemite. We did come in without full health, but then we get paralyzed, which is pretty terrible, and now we simply go down to some Thunder Shocks. But here, after several attempts against Jed, I just cannot get that fight to go. We're taking way too much damage from his special moves, so Aerodactyl is actually struggling here to get through. So instead, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make my way down to Chucky Boy's gym, since we do have access to Wing Attack, which is pretty strong, and same type, so it should be super effective and get us through the black belts at least. We may still be kind of questionable against Chuck's Poliwrath though, given the fact that our Pokemon really doesn't have much in the way of special defense. Aerodactyl is really just all about speed and attack, and doesn't really have the HP to stand up against strong special moves. Still, maybe a few levels will help us be able to get through at least Jed's Pokemon, but it's making me really think we're going to need access to that Fire Blast to get through Jasmine later on. Still, here we'll just take on the Black Belt Bros, where we can go Wing Attack, and that destroys the Hitmonlee. And as Hitmonchan comes out next, of course, we don't want to see Ice Punch or Thunder Punch here, but we can just go for Wing Attack and get a 1-hit KO anyway, so that's perfectly fine. I think we're getting through all these Black Belts without any difficulty, so I'm just going to take my first shot at Chuck while I happen to be down here. So Chuck, attempt number 1, he leads off with the Primate. We're at the same level at level 27 here. I'm just going to go for the Wing Attack and get the 1-hit KO on that Pokemon. Poliwrath comes out next. We go Wing Attack. It does about half. He goes Mind Reader though, and that gives us the free victory as we get to level 28. I'm pretty sure Surf would have done significant damage there, but I'm guessing it must not be a 1-hit KO since he didn't go for Surf. And that does mean we can step out, we can get access to Fly. We can avoid teaching that for now because Wing Attack is 60 base power and doesn't take that extra turn to charge up. But with that out of the way and a couple more levels under our belt, I'm going to make my way back to the Rocket Hideout and see if I can get through Jed now. And it does seem to have made a difference because now it looks like these Magnemites are 2-hit KOs with the move Headbutt. It could be a range, but we are getting through much better. And at this point, as long as we don't get paralyzed and get really bad luck, we can actually get through that fight. Still, those Magnemites are like 6 levels lower than Aerodactyl is currently, and Aerodactyl is in the slow level up group, so we're not going to be that many levels above the Magnemites on Jasmine's team. So Fire Blast is almost certainly required. We may replace Bite with that move just because Bite and Headbutt are kind of redundant on the moveset, and by the late game when we're talking about things like Dark types and Ghost types, we'll be wanting to use some stronger moves anyway. However, here against one of the Rockets, we actually managed to level up to level 29 and get access to Ancient Power, and I'm just going to throw this on over Bite for right now because it's going to give us a physical same type move that could also give us Omni Boosts, which could be a way to get through an otherwise pretty tough fight. Plus, it's going to be a pretty good move against Pryce here. And with this moveset, we do manage to get through the rest of the Rocket Hideout with really no issues, so we're on to the final Rocket Executive. It's just time to see how she goes with Aerodactyl. We should have everything we need to get through this fight pretty easily though. Of course, she leads off with the Arbok. I'm going to go Ancient Power here just because I can. It's going to be a 2-hit KO on that one. Murkrow comes out next. We'll stick with the Ancient Power, getting a 1-hitter, and that brings out Gloom, where we can just go for the Wing Attack and get the 1-hit KO as well, getting to level 30. So just like that, we've managed to get through this section. It's just a matter of going Chuck first, then getting through Jed. And remember, we are running on max DVs, and it was just barely a 2-hit KO on Jed's Magnemite. So if you were running anything weaker than max DVs, that's probably still a 3-hit KO on the Magnemites. You're going to need to get access to a better move. Frankly, I think that if you were doing a standard solo challenge here, you'd much rather have something like Hidden Power Ground at this point to deal with the Steel and Electric type Pokemon, simply because there's nothing on our moveset that is currently neutrally effective against them without going all the way for that Flamethrower. So I think that would be the way to go. But for now, we're running this one on max DVs just like all the Pokemon in this series, and we're going to make our way to Pryce, where Ancient Power might just give us a pretty good move against his Ice types. Let's see how this actually works out. He leads off with the Seal, of course. I'm going to go ahead and go for Ancient Power here just because of the fact that we might get an Omni Boost. We get the Speed Drop, but that really shouldn't matter from the Icy Wind, and we knock out the Seal the next turn. Piloswine comes out next. I'm going to go Ancient Power again. This looks like it's going to be a 3-hit KO. He goes for the Fury attack first, then Blizzard connects, but we survive. Now he Hyper Potions, and it just looks like we're not quite getting the range to get through. I'm going to switch to Headbutt to knock that Pokemon out. Dugong comes out next, and here on such low health, I think we have to Headbutt and hope for flinches. We don't get it, so we simply go down on that first attempt. Let's try this one again, though. Now, this time, he doesn't go for a Hyper Potion on Piloswine, so we just knock it out in 3 hits. We're 2 Dugong. We can go Ancient Power here, doing well over half, and Aurora Beam isn't strong enough to knock us out at that point, when we actually managed to get through the Piloswine with decent HP. So Pryce goes down on the second attempt. He really wasn't too bad there, but now we've got to go and take on Jasmine, and she's the one that I'm the most scared for because we just really don't have a good move for her on the current moveset. Now, I think this fight comes down entirely to the range that we get against the 2 Magnemites, because they're the ones that we're absolutely going to have to be able to knock out without getting paralyzed or anything like that. I will give the Paralyzed Cure Berry as well, but we have to keep in mind that even when we get through them, we're still going to be dealing with the Steelix with its Iron Tail and Rock Throw that are super effective. So we're going to be in kind of tough shape here if if we can't get the ranges we need against that Steelix. Let's get into this once with our moveset as is and just see how it actually looks. So first things first, we get the first of the Magnemites that is at level 30. We're going Headbutt here just to see what it does, and that appears to be a 3-hit KO. We get confused by the Pokemon. We manage to Headbutt again and get Thunder Wave. We can heal with the Paralyzed Cure Berry, but then we hit ourselves in confusion. We get paralyzed, and that is basically all she wrote for this one as Thunderbolt destroys us. Now, one thing I find strange about Aerodactyl is that it cannot learn the move Mud Slap. In spite of the fact that it's kind of like a stone flying Pokemon, you would think that it would be able to use a ground type move like Mud Slap like all these other flying types can, but apparently not. That is off limits for this Pokemon. So instead, I'm going to test out the move Rock Smash here one time just to see how it goes. I'm going to throw it on over Headbutt since Headbutt can be relearned basically infinitely. Let's just see how much damage a move like Rock Smash actually does against these Magnemites. And we can see Rock Smash does slightly less than half. We do get a defense drop on the first Magnemite, so we can knock it out the next turn and get to level 31. The second Magnemite also is taking slightly less than half damage, though we get another defense drop. Still, we did not manage to get the 2-hit KO there. It's clearly a range to be a 2-hit KO after the defense drop, which is not what we're really looking for. So I think we have no choice. I think we have to go Fire Blast here if we're going to have any shot whatsoever. So here we have the Fire Blast TM. I'm just going to teach it over Rock Smash since I don't think we need that move if we've got the Fire Blast on, but now it's time to see if Fire Blast can actually one-hit KO here or not. Let's test it out and see. So against the first Magnemite, we go Fire Blast, and that is a one-hitter getting us to level 31. Fire Blast on the second Magnemite also one-shots. That brings us to the Steelix. We go Fire Blast, and that does quite a bit. We get the burn as well, but it did about maybe 75% there. We get an Iron Tail miss, which is also very good. She Hyper Potions, and with that, we should have the victory. As long as the final Fire Blast hits, we get the victory on that one. So Aerodactyl gets through, but it does have to jump into that OP TMs column because of the fact that it needed the Fire Blast there, and that was the only way for this Pokemon to progress. I'm not sure if Fire Blast really stays on the moveset for a long time. We're definitely throwing on something like Earthquake when we get access to that later on, and that will be our solution for electric steel type Pokemon. But who knows, there could be some specific situations where we really do want the fire type move. I think we have to keep the Fire Blast for rival number 4, and if we can manage to get through Claire with our current moveset, we may carry this moveset into the start of the league at least. Fire Blast would be good against Koga's Fortress, for example. I just think the move will fall off pretty quickly though. By the time we get to Lance, there will be no reason to use Fire Blast in that fight. We'll just have to see if we even get there though with our Aerodactyl. Still, with Aerodactyl done, let's check in on our fossil Pokemon from channel members, starting with our Kabutops, and see if it can make significantly easier work of this section given the fact that it's going to have Stab Surf. So here, channel member Luckpup is supporting Lord Dome, the Kabutops that got saved by virtue of getting Aurora Beam all the way back in the Bugsy section. And we're running Rollout, Harden, Aurora Beam, and Fury Cutter. Interestingly enough, no Surf on the moveset just yet. We may need to add that move on in order to actually progress, but I'm going to lead off by going over to the Rocket Hideout, since it seems to me that that's one of the simplest ways for us to progress in the game. Now, the big issue with our current moveset is that we don't really have anything good for Magnemites like here against Jed. I'm going to see if rollout strats can be enough here, or are we going to just take too much damage? We got 2-hit KO'd by that first Magnemite, so this is not looking pretty. Granted, that seemed to be an issue of some critical hits, so let's try this one again and just see if we can get a slightly better range. I am going for rollout strats here because I'm pretty sure if we build it up, we'll just be able to knock everything out. Sure enough, the second Magnemite goes down in a single critical hit, and the third Magnemite gets destroyed as well. So it's just a matter of getting a run where you set up all of the rollout there on that first Magnemite, and then you're good to go through the rest of the team. That strategy probably will not work against Jasmine though, so that's why we're going to need to at least think about Surf by the time we get to that point. Still, our rock typing should be pretty good for most of the rest of this section, and we've got Aurora Beam for the grass types, so I'm pretty sure we're getting through the rocket hideout with no issues. So let's just make our way to the final executive. And sure enough, we get to the final executive, where I think rollout's going to be enough to get through this fight pretty easily, as she leads off with her Arbok. I'm just going to set up that move. I missed the first rollout and get Bite, but we managed to 2-hit KO there and get to level 29. Gloom comes out next and gets wrecked by the third turn of rollout, and Murkrow never stood a chance. As long as the move actually hits, you get through that fight super easy. And with that, I think the rollout strats are going to be more than enough for Pryce, and we're at best only neutrally affected by his moves. So I think we can get through this one pretty easily. Then we're going to have to decide Chuck or Jasmine. We don't actually have a very good move for fighting types either at this point, so we might actually forget the move Aurora Beam to learn something else that's more effective. Even like a Headbutt or something would be more effective in that gym. Still, that's looking a little bit ahead. Let's see if Luckpup and his Lord Dome can actually beat Pryce. So Pryce leads off with Seal, of course. I'm just going to start setting up the rollout here. It looks like a 2-hit KO on that Pokemon. Piloswine comes out next, but this is also just going to be a simple 2-hit KO. We actually get a miss here from the rollout though, which is pretty bad. He Hyper Potions, and we knock him out in 2 more hits after that. We get to level 30, bringing out the Dugong, which never stood a chance. Still, he might have actually done something if he had just gone Blizzard, but he wasn't smart enough to do that, and instead decided to use things like Mist that resulted in us getting through with an insanely easy victory. But now that might be the only easy victory in this section. We've got to go take on Chuck's gym next, where I'm pretty sure our current moves are not going to be that great. Surf makes sense here, and I think Headbutt makes sense here. I prefer Headbutt slightly on the basis that it is physical, and of course if Headbutt turns out not to be enough, we could even go for Return, though Surf as a same type move should do pretty decent damage as well. I'm going to start off with the Headbutt though, because I do think this move's going to be better off against that Poliwrath at the end, and for now I think we can forget Aurora Beam. We can get access to Blizzard later on in the run if we really need an Ice type move, so I think this is the one to go. I'm going to keep Harden for now just because it could actually prove to be really useful against one of these tough opponents upcoming. So Aurora Beam goes, we get the Headbutt, and let's see if that's enough to get us through Chucky Boy's gym at least. Now I did come clear out the Lighthouse since I haven't come here before, so that gains a little extra experience for us, getting us to level 31 as we head down to Chuck's gym. And now it's just time to see how we do against the Black Belt Bros, especially because we're going to be weak against Jump Kick here. Let's see if we can actually get through this Hitmonlee. I'm going to lead off with the Headbutt here, which did like 80%, but it's still a 2-hit KO. Fortunately, we only took about half damage from the Jump Kick, so we managed to get through the first Pokemon just fine. That brings out the Hitmonchan next, where we're going to stick with the Headbutt strats. It goes for Fire Punch, which is like the worst decision, and that allows us to get a very easy victory. Still, I'm going to pop out and heal because I'm just afraid of a lucky critical hit Karate Chop taking me down or something like that. But let's just see if we can get through the rest of the randos here with no issues and make our way to Chucky Boy himself. And here we have made it to Chuck with no problems whatsoever, but it's time to see if Headbutt is gonna be enough in this one. So Chuck attempt number 1, he leads off with the Primeape. We go for Headbutt, we're even faster. It just goes Leer against me, but I get an easy 2-hit KO on that Pokemon. Poliwrath comes out next, where I can go for the Headbutt. It misses Dynamic Punch turn 1, and it looks like we did 31 damage here. That would mean that if that range holds up, this is a 4-hit KO. We get a Flinch turn 2, which is very nice. Then we get put to sleep by Hypnosis, but the Mint Berry recovers us, so we actually managed to win on the first attempt, getting to level 33. But now with that done, we have to make our way to Jasmine, who obviously is going to be the toughest trainer of this entire section, since Rock does not resist that Thunderbolt that she's going to be using with each of her Magnemites. So Surf is probably the best play here, and we could throw that on over something like Headbutt, since Headbutt can always be relearned later, and we're getting pretty close to the move deleter, so there's no reason why we would need to worry about putting Surf on and then needing to forget it later. So I think that's probably the best way to go. So I'm simply going to throw on Surf over Headbutt, and let's just see what kind of range we actually get here, and we'll give the Paralyzed Cure Berry just to be safe against Jasmine. Now she's going to lead off with the Magnemite. We go for Surf on this Pokemon, and that does get the one-hit KO. Magnemite number 2 comes out. We Surf yet again. Easy victory. That brings us to the final Steelix, where we can go Surf, and this one is just barely not a one-hitter. She goes Sunny Day after that. That's perfectly fine by me. We're still going to do about half here with Surf, and we do in fact manage to get the 2-hitter, so we get to level 34 with no issues with our Kabutops. It is now moving on in the game, and obviously we can go for a lot of strategies when we get to Claire in the next section. We may even be able to just try setting up rollout strats there in order to get through, because especially a built-up rollout hitting that final Kingdra might be enough to simply get us the victory. We'll just have to see. For now, it moves on. Luckpup, I want to say a massive thank you. I even created a brand new little graphic to throw up when I'm thanking the channel members. Luckpup has been here already for 13 months, giving him that storm badge, so he has knocked Chuck out. Anyway, I appreciate you, Luckpup, for supporting for so long, both here and on RBY, even though I don't know why you'd support RBY. It is still appreciated, the charity that you give over there, and we're going to keep running this up through the next section, and I think you've got a pretty good chance of getting your Kabutops to the league. But with that being done, let's move on now to Omastar. But now with Kabutops done, it's time to take on this section with our Omastar. Lord Helix coming in. It's been supported by Ashryver for 8 months now. And I think the best thing to do is just to go to the Rocket Hideout. Let's gain as many levels as we can. Obviously, we want to go Surf with this Pokemon at some point, since that is going to be our strongest move. And we have better special attack here than we have physical attack. Still, I'll try to see if we can get through with the Lord without actually having to use Surf, because I mean Bubblebeam is a pretty decent move in and of itself, and we've got plenty of coverage here given that we also have Bite and Blizzard, so we've got enough in terms of special moves. We'll just have to see how it goes, but I do think getting the extra levels at the Rocket Hideout is the way to start with this one, since we're in the slow level up group. And of course, Lord Helix completely destroys the Rocket Hideout. I mean, what would you expect from the Lord? But we do have to take on this final Rocket Executive here. She's going to lead off with the Arbok. I'm not even coming in fully healed. We'll just go Bubble Beam on this one. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. And once we take that one down, we can level up to level 29 right here as Gloom comes out. We'll go for Blizzard on this one, getting an easy victory right there. And Murkrow can get more Blizzard action. So we get through nice and easy in this section, and we're ready to move on in the game. Now the question is, where do we go next? On the one hand, we could go to Pryce and just try to go Bite strats in order to get through him, keeping in mind we're neutrally affected by his ice type moves. Alternatively, we could go down to Chucky Boy's gym and try to get through some randos. So I'm not sure what is actually the best way to route. I'm going to try to go to Pryce first though, just because he's not super scary. Maybe if we just get a flinch or two, we can get through just fine there. Let's find out. So Pryce attempt number 1, I'm just going to Bite on the Seal. This looks like it might be a 3-hit KO as he just goes Icy Wind. Aurora Beam doesn't do that much, so we easily managed to get through. And for some reason, I was thinking it was neutrally effective, but we're Rock type, so no, it's just resisted against the Ice type moves. So we should have a pretty big advantage here, as long as we can just get enough flinches in order to avoid some like rest loops here from this Dugong. That is honestly the biggest issue. It is affecting things a little bit that we're actually slower here, but we get a nice critical hit right there. If we could get a crit at the right time, we might be able to win. It's also worth seeing what Bubble Beam does, since it is pretty close. We kind of get this Dugong into a rest loop, but we're just taking too much damage at this point that I think we're going to lose. Sure enough, we do on that first attempt. Now I'm going to try to just upgrade to Surf, since Surf should do significantly more damage here. I don't think we need to do like a massive amount of damage there in order to get through. We just needed to deal a little bit more, and then we might be able to keep him in the rest loop and cause him to eventually run out of rest and let us knock him out. Let's see if this can actually work. So coming back here, let's just see what Surf does against the Seal. It still looks like a 3-hit KO. This time we don't get hit by Icy Wind, just Aurora Beam after that. We still get the 3-hit KO there. Piloswine comes out next for some reason, so we'll simply go Surf and destroy that Pokemon. That gets us to level 30. And now we're up against the Dugong again, where Surf looks like it's going to be a 4-hit KO here. We might just need a good flinch with the Bite or a critical hit, and that will get us through with 69 HP remaining. Obviously, the Lord Helix knew it had 69 HP and knew it had to win, so we get through Pryce on the second attempt there. He's actually a little bit tougher with this moveset. I'm not sure if adding on a physical move like Return would be that much better. Like, we don't have great attack, so it might be a situation where we're actually better off going to the randos down in Chucky Boy's gym and keeping our special moves with this Pokemon. Still, we'll just have to see how it goes when we get down there to Chuck, because we are weak against fighting, but we have good special and pretty good defense, so we may just be able to tank all the moves and simply get through down here. It also turns out that we didn't do the Lighthouse earlier, so we could have gained a level or two here as well. That might have changed the ranges against Pryce. Still no point in worrying about that now. Let's just make our way down to Chucky Boy's gym and just see how it goes. Though who knows, Jasmine might actually be easier in this one given our higher special attack. But here I feel like we should at least try our hand at Jasmine first, given the fact that I think we'll be able to knock out the Magnemites with Surf, and then the Steelix is probably going to be pretty easy in this one. Let's just see if that's the case. And then we'll go down to Chucky Boy last, since we technically have some type weaknesses there. He might actually pose more of a threat than Jasmine does. So let's just give it a try. Jasmine, attempt number 1. She's going to lead off, of course, with her Magnemite. We'll go Surf right here, and that's going to be an easy 1-hit KO. Magnemite number 2 comes out and also gets completely wrecked. Steelix. Now we just go Surf, and it is a 1-hit KO as we get to level 32. So sure enough, that was the right play. We also get the badge boost in defense from that, so we'll be a little bit more defensive as we go into Chucky Boy's gym. That should help us quite a bit here. Let's just see if we can now sweep through everything down there and complete Lord Helix's quest through this part of the game. It's going to be very interesting to see. This Pokemon might be really OP outside of the fact that it struggled with rival number 2. Once you give it Blizzard, though, it basically has everything that it would need, and once you got through rival 2, you'd get to Goldenrod and legitimately be able to get Blizzard through the Rocket Game Corner. So it might turn out that Omastar is actually a beast outside of that one single battle. Still, let's get into the gym here against the Black Belt Bros and see how they go. Now, against the Hitmonlee, our best play by far is just to go Surf here. It's our strongest move. It's going to be a 2-hit KO, but we survive the jump kick just fine and knock it out in 2 hits. That brings out the Hitmonchan, which if it doesn't go for Thunder Punch, we're just not going to take much damage anyway. So we'll go Surf right here. Once again, a 2-hit KO, and it just goes for Fire Punch. Good job, Hitmonchan. And that allows us to get the very easy victory, and we can move on in this gym. And sure enough, everything else in here is basically a 1-hit KO, so we've made it to Chucky Boy himself. The only real issue here is that we don't have a great move for that Poliwrath. Still, I'm going to try this with my moveset as it is right now, because I just want to see, and if we really go YOLO, we might even go for a freeze strat here. So let's just see if this can work or not. So Chuck attempt number 1 against the Primeape, I'm just going to go Surf, and that gets the easy 1-hit KO. Poliwrath comes out next. Let's see what Surf does here. It does about a third, it looks like. He goes Mind Reader, but we'll just go Surf the next turn. Dynamic Punch did less than half. And if we can manage to move, sure enough, we just win on the first attempt, getting to level 34. Chucky Boy, he stood no chance against Lord Helix, obviously. Lord Helix is far too powerful for him. And that means that Lord Helix gets to move on now to Claire, where we've got Blizzard. So I think we're going to get through the Dragonairs just fine. We'll at least have a neutrally effective move against Kingdra. And again, we might be fishing for a freeze there, but it's only going to be neutrally affecting us as well. So we should be able to find a way to get through there. I think that Lord Helix is going to make it to the league. That's just my personal opinion. We'll see how it actually works out in the next section. But for now, let me just give a massive thank you to Ashryver for supporting for 8 months. He spooked Morty's ghosts already, and Ashryver is unfortunately no longer with us as a channel member. Of course, he could always come back and pick up this Omastar again, but otherwise, if you're a channel member who hasn't made a pick yet and you'd like to support a Pokemon, I highly recommend Lord Helix, since I think it has the potential to maybe even go all the way. Just saying, after that Rival 2 fight, it might actually be a top tier Pokemon. We'll just have to see. But for now, I just want to give that thank you to Ashryver for your support. Definitely hope you come back. But at least for this one, we've proven that Lord Helix is a really, really great Pokemon. But now with that done, we're ready to move on in this challenge. And I'm going to get into some legit challengers before we get back up to those member picks up there. Let's check in on our Snorlax, the last normal type in this set, and a Pokemon that I would expect, being Gen 2's premier Pokemon, should completely crush this section. Then we'll get into the legendary birds of Kanto and the legendary beasts of Johto before we come back and check in on that Cubone that's up there in the member picks section. Let's get through a few of these and just see how they go. And Snorlax comes in knowing Headbutt, Belly Drum, Rollout, and Defense Curl. I mean, I think this is a moveset that can get through literally everything. I do think we have to put off Chucky Boy for a little while, though, just because he is going to have super effective moves against us. I think we're going to want to put that one off as long as we can, though the Defense Curls will help us in that section as well. Still, since we've got Rollout, I think we go to Pryce first. So let's just get through the Rocket storyline here and just use that move to hopefully completely destroy everything. I'm going to be very interested to see how the Belly Drum works here, just because while yes, we cut our own HP, Belly Drum could put us in a position where we're able to deal so much damage with the move like Headbutt that we simply get through opponents in spite of the fact that we have very low HP at that point. Of course, if this moveset doesn't work out, we've got tons and tons of moves that we can use, because we can even learn Surf here if we want to. So I don't think we're going to have any struggles actually getting through. The question is more just, do we have to add on any new moves to get through this section? Now, of course, Snorlax makes very quick work of everything in the Rocket hideout, so we've made it to the final executive. I'm going to try to go for the Belly Drum strat here and then just headbutt everything down. Let's see how that goes. So here the Arbok tries to leer, we go Belly Drum, we're below half health, but Poison Sting doesn't do that much, and we get an easy one-hit KO. Gloom comes out and gets completely destroyed. That brings out the Murkrow. It tries to use Haze, to eliminate our stat buffs, but it doesn't matter. The Headbutt still destroys it, getting us to level 28. We may not have even needed to do Belly Drum there. I was just kind of doing it for fun, but now I'm interested to see the Belly Drum plus Rollout strat here on Pryce. Could be very, very interesting. I mean, we're already a slow Pokemon, so Icy Wind I don't think really matters too much to us, and we're gonna have decent HP even after we use the Belly Drum, so this could be okay to simply get through with that and give us at least one strategy for completely destroying this fight. But we might just Belly Drum into Headbutt because it's more accurate, and that may be enough as well. So we'll just get to Pryce's gym and see, but I think this is going to be a pretty easy fight. Let's find out. So Pryce attempt number 1 right here. Let's just go Belly Drum turn 1 because we can. He goes Icy Wind, of course, and does like nothing. Then he headbutts. Oh, we're slower after the Icy Wind. That is the problem. So it takes several headbutts before we actually get a move again. We get to destroy the Dugong at least, but now we get beaten by the Piloswine because we were just on low health. Okay, with that being the case, let's go for the headbutt immediately on this Seal since we are faster than it. And it's going to be a 2-hit KO either way. We get the speed drop, but now he goes Rest. Ooh, we can Belly Drum here because he's asleep and now go for the headbutt, and that will allow us to get to Dugong with much better health. So while Aurora Beam does some damage. It's not enough. We get to the Piloswine. It goes missed, and that is not going to help it at all. So we easily win on the second attempt, getting to level 29. It's just a matter of going headbutt first on that seal. And once you get the rest, you're basically good to go. So, hey, we'll take it. We'll take it. Now it's time to move on. We've got Chuck's Gym. We've got Jasmine. These will actually be a little bit tougher. We'll have to think about if our moveset currently is good enough or not. We will be slower than things is the main problem. Still, I think Headbutt's going to be enough to get us through to Chucky Boy himself. And once we get to Chuck, we'll probably not go for the belly drum there. We'll probably go for some defense girls and then go into our headbutts. But let's just see how this actually works out. First up, of course, we've got the Black Belt Bros. Let's see how much damage they do and how much damage we can do back. Double Kick did pretty decent damage, but then we just one-shot the Hitmonlee with a headbutt. Out next comes the Hitmonchan. Of course, it doesn't have anything that strong, so it just thunder punches, and we're going to get the 2-hit KO right there, so no problem whatsoever. Still, we've got to watch out for the critical hit karate chops. I'm going to heal up and then just try to get through the rest of the randos and make our way to Chucky Boy. So we do reach Chucky Boy with no issues. He's going to throw a boulder because he's so angry that we got here with a Snorlax. But let's show him how strong this Pokemon actually is. Chucky Boy attempt number 1 right here. I'm just going to headbutt on the Primeape. It just barely misses getting the one hitter, and then he karate chops, doing about half of my health. That brings out the Poliwrath, and it hits the Dynamic Punch, and we lose. Of course, Dynamic Punch is a 50-50 there, and if we can just get something like a Leer from that first Primeape, we may be able to set up the belly drum here and get through that way. Let's just test this out. So here he goes Leer turn 1, we go belly drum, now he goes Fury Swipes, and that allows us to get the KO. Now we're just hoping for either like Mind Reader or Hypnosis, or for him to miss with the Dynamic Punch. Of course, he has to hit it, but it's only a 50-50 shot for him to do that. And it's basically guaranteed when we get the belly drum off that we will be able to knock this Pokemon out. So we really just need a Leer from that first Primeape. This time we get the Dynamic Punch miss, and that's all we needed. 4 attempts to get through Chucky Boy. The belly drum into headbutt is more than enough to get the victory there. And with that being done, we can now make our way back to Jasmine, where I'm going to just see if we have the Paralyzed Cure Berry on. Is that going to be enough to just let us set up belly drum and then just sweep through the team with the headbutts? Let's get into it and find out. So Jasmine attempt number 1 right here. We've got the Paralyzed Cure Berry on, so I'm going to go for belly drum first. She goes Supersonic, which is actually a pretty good strategy, but headbutt does one-shot the first Magnemite, getting us to level 31. Magnemite number 2 comes out. We still move, so we managed to knock it out in a single hit. That brings out the Steelix. We hit, and we do about 40%. This is going to be a 3-hit KO. We get a nice flinch, another flinch. She Hyper Potions. Here, we're just going to keep headbutting, and if we don't get knocked out here, which we don't, we managed to beat Jasmine on the first attempt with the belly drum headbutt strats. So our Snorlax, he's far too OP, clearly Gen 2's best Pokemon, and he is moving on now to Claire, and there may be no need to change up anything. I mean, we've got the rollout for Ghosts, and honestly, we might not need that much else. Like, we could always go Shadow Ball for Ghosts instead, or Earthquake in the late game, so there are going to be plenty of moves to use with this Pokemon. We may not even need rollout strats for a lot of this. We may just be able to replace Defense Curl rollout with 2 other damage-dealing moves and Belly Drum plus physical moves in order to get through the game. It's going to be very interesting to see, but for now, Snorlax moves on. Let's now check in on the legendary Birds of Kanto and the legendary Beasts of Johto, and I'm going to go through them kind of in sets. We're going to look at Articuno and Suicune first and just see how they go, and then we'll step through to the electric types and the fire types. But we'll lead off with our Articuno. So Articuno is coming in with Gust, Powder Snow, Agility, and Mud Slap, of course. We will get access to Fly in this section. If we got Desperate, we could always add on the move Blizzard, though Icy Wind will technically be an upgraded move, I believe. We'll see if we need to go for that. However, our big issue here is just that we've got a lot of weaknesses to things. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get through everything here, at least not easily. So I think we keep Mud Slap for Jasmine at this point, but we put Jasmine off to the very end. Let's just see how we do with everything else in this section. Now, sure enough, we get through to the end of the rocket hideout section with no issues. We're not doing tons of damage here, but it seems to be enough overall to get us through this section. I will go Mud Slap here on the Arbok. It has slightly lower defense and our attack is slightly higher thanks to a badge boost, so we can get through in 3 hits there. Now on Gloom, we'll go Powder Snow. That's going to be a 2-hit KO on this Pokemon. Still, we get through that one just fine, and the final Murkrow comes out, and it's also a 2-hit KO. We're just not quite dealing as much damage as we'd like to do with this Pokemon at this point, but it's not like anything was hard here, just a little bit tedious to get through. So now we need to decide how to route. I'm actually going to try my hand at Pryce one time here. We're only neutrally affected by ice type moves, plus beating him will power up ice type moves. So this should be a decent decision to make here. Granted, we don't have a whole lot of good moves to use at this point in the game, so let's just see how this actually goes. So Pryce attempt number 1, I'm going to go for Gust here on this first seal. It looks like a 3-hit KO. We get a speed drop, but the speed drop really shouldn't matter too much. We've got agility if we need it. We are slightly slower here, so I will set up agility just to make sure I outspeed. Now Gust doesn't seem to be doing a ton of damage, but we get a nice critical hit there. That gets Dugong to rest, and we might be best off going for a bunch of Mud Slaps here. The real problem is that we're getting attack drops from the Aurora Beam, so we probably want to go all in on accuracy against the Dugong in order to actually get through this. Let's try it again. So next attempt, I'm just going to set up 6 Mud Slaps on the Dugong right off the bat to lower its accuracy and hopefully take fewer hits and thus have fewer chances for it to get an attack drop on me. Once its accuracy is all the way down, we'll switch into Gust since it's the stronger move, and we managed to get through this time. That brings out the Piloswine, where Powder Snow is neutrally effective. It looks like everything's doing about the same damage here. He uses the Hyper Potion, and we're just kind of in bad shape because we're not dealing enough damage as he blizzards me down. So seems like at this point we're just not dealing enough damage against Pryce, so we're better off going and gaining some additional levels against, say, the randos inside of Chucky Boy's gym, and we might have to think about changing up our moveset at some point. The slow level up group and the lack of water coverage in this version is going to be kind of an issue for us. If you were playing Pokemon Red and Blue, you could of course get access to Bubblebeam by this point in the game, another coverage option there against, say, that Piloswine, but we're not going to get another level up move in this section. Our next level up move would be Mind Reader, which probably doesn't do much for us. So we're really going to have to see if we can find a way through here. Blizzard might become necessary at some point. Still, for now, let's get into Chucky Boy's gym. We've got Stab Gust. Maybe it's enough. Let's just see against the Black Belt Bros here. Against the first Hitmonlee, it's going to be a 2-hit KO, but Double Kick is only neutrally effective. We managed to knock that Pokemon out. That will bring out the Hitmonchan next, which we're just hoping not to get Fire Punch or Thunder Punch. We can go Gust, though, and get an easy 2-hit KO as it just Ice Punches me, and that's going to allow us to get through this section. We've got to be a little careful of the Rock Slide from the second trainer in here, but I think we're going to be able to get through to Chucky Boy himself, so let's just see how it goes. And sure enough, we make it to Chuck with no issues, so now let's just see if we can manage to get through. I'm obviously going to throw on the Mint Berry here, since I think there's a high chance that he tries to put me to sleep, but let's just see if we can use Gust to get through this fight nice and easy, and maybe with the extra levels, plus getting access to Fly after this, we'll have a decent strategy when we go back to Pryce. First up, though, we've got Chucky Boy here. He's going to lead off with the Primeape. We're going Gust. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. He misses a Leer, so that's perfectly fine. Poliwrath comes out next. We'll go for Gust here. It's going to be a 3-hit KO. He Dynamic Punches. We hit ourselves in confusion. Now he goes Mind Reader and Hypnosis, but we have the Mint Berry, and that allows us to get the victory as we get to level 30 right there. And with that being done, we can now make our way back out of here. We can talk to his wife, who's going to completely bash on him, saying like, yeah, he's chubby. He's too chubby to make a Pokemon fly him anywhere. so I'll give Fly to you instead. And with that in the bag, I actually think we're going to go ahead and learn Fly here with our Articuno. It's a big upgrade over Gust and should allow us to deal a lot more damage against Pryce. I'm not sure if this is the correct play, but I think it's going to be the best strategy for this point at least. So let's just see if we can make this work or not. Keep in mind, there is a move deleter, so we could always forget Fly and then relearn Fly later on if we have a different move that we want to learn. But for now, I think this is the way to go to avoid any OPTMs. Let's see if we can manage to beat Pryce now. So back to Pryce here. I'm going to go Fly turn 1 as he tries to hit Icy Wind and misses. We can see Fly is going to be an easy 2-hit KO. He can go rest. It's not really a big deal for us because by the time he wakes up, he's just going to get knocked out anyway. That brings out Dugong. We'll go Fly again as it misses the first Aurora Beam. We're doing far better damage here. I'm just going to give it a couple of Mud Slaps here just to get it in a range where I should be able to knock it out. When it goes to sleep, I'm just going to sit here and spam more Mud Slaps to lower its accuracy. Once it wakes up, let's go back to the Fly, and it should only take 2 hits from the move to knock it out, and it doesn't go for rest this time, so we do get through to Piloswine. Here against Piloswine, let's just stick with Fly. We do over half with a critical hit here. He's going to likely go for the Hyper Potion, but he doesn't. He goes for Fury Attack again. That allows us to simply knock him out with the Fly strats. So, hey, we'll take it. Pryce, he doesn't even try to go for the Blizzard, but we were going to survive Blizzard anyway, so that's why I think it was perfectly fine. And now we can make our way to Jasmine. Now, she's the one that I'm most worried about here because we don't have a great strategy. We might have to go for a freeze on that Steelix to have a chance here, since it's only going to be neutrally affected by Ice-type moves. We're going to have to hope that the Mud Slaps are enough to get us through the 2 Magnemites. So I will, of course, give a Paralyzed Cure Berry because I think we're going to have to avoid the paralysis. Let's see how this actually goes. So Jasmine, attempt number 1. I'm going Mud Slap on the first Magnemite. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. It hits the Thunder Wave, but we heal with the Paralyzed Cure Berry and knock it out on the next turn, getting to level 31. We need a miss from this Magnemite, I think, if we're going to get through. We get it. So we are on to the Steelix here. Let's see what different things do. I'm going to try Powder Snow just to see. Powder Snow did 29 damage here, so that would make that move a 4-hit KO at this point. Of course, if we could get a freeze, we would also get a victory. We can see the Iron Tail just does massive damage, but here we freeze the Steelix as she goes for the Hyper Potion. It immediately defrosts. Then she misses the Iron Tail, and we got her all the way down to 17 HP. One more hit would have won. A critical hit would have won. So there is clearly a strategy here. Now, we could go for the Mud Slaps here to try to lower its accuracy, so I'm going to go for that in this second attempt. But let's just see how this actually works out. So we've made it back to Steelix. I'm just going to sit here and spam some Mud Slaps. We can see we're in a 2-hit KO range from the Iron Tail, and that's the big problem, is that we're going to take a lot of resets just trying to go for accuracy here. I think the better play is honestly to go for the freeze with the Powder Snow first, and then if we get the freeze, then set up the Mud Slap, since we know that it can thaw out in this version of the game. That may actually be the higher probability play here. We get a nice critical hit with our first Powder Snow. We take the Iron Tail. That does force her to go for the Hyper Potion though, and now it's frozen. I'm just going to go all in because she's already used the Hyper Potion. We just need one more hit. There we go. 3 attempts to get through Jasmine. It's not always pretty, but it is possible thanks to freeze strats. So hey, we'll take it. Articuno moves on. It technically has an advantage on the next gym, and again, it's a legendary bird. We would expect this Pokemon to go pretty far on minimal battles. I'm just happy that we did not have to add on a move like Blizzard here. By the time we get to the league, we'll absolutely be going Blizzard strats. It will be the best thing to do with this Pokemon. And in the post game, I mean, we'll get to Ice Beam eventually. So, you know, if we can get to level 49 and get Ice Beam, we'll have one of our best moves by far. We could always forget Blizzard, relearn Blizzard, you know, whatever we want to do. Still, hey, Articuno, it's through. Now let's check in on Suicune. Now, Suicune is coming in knowing Bite, Clear, Bubble Beam, and Rain Dance, so a pretty good set overall. We might actually be best against Jasmine here. So I think I'm actually going to go try Jasmine once just to see. I'm just kind of interested if the Rain Dance strats plus Bubble Beam is enough here. We can always throw on the Paralyzed Cure Berry so that we don't get paralyzed at the start of the fight. And with Rain Dance set up, that might be all we actually need to get through there. It looks like we also haven't done the Lighthouse yet, so we'll gain maybe a level in this section as well before we even get there. So I'm just going to see if it actually works out or not. We could also end up going Rain Dance into Surf strats, which would obviously be a massive upgrade, and that would almost certainly work because we're going to outspeed against the Steelix. So here we've got the Paralyzed Cure Berry on. Let's just see how we actually do against Jasmine. So here, turn 1, I'm going to set up Rain Dance. She goes Thunder Wave, of course, but we'll just heal with the Paralyzed Cure Berry. Now, Bubble Beam is not going to one-shot against the Magnemite. Okay, so Surf definitely would get the job done here. It's just the fact that we are not using the stronger move. Still, we managed to get through to Steelix here. We are paralyzed. It goes for Screech turn 1. We can see we're doing about half. She ends up going for the Hyper Potion. This is all in spite of the fact that we're paralyzed. She finally hits the Iron Tail just when she's down to 8 HP remaining. She had just used the Hyper Potion, so clearly we just throw on Surf here and this is a victory. So I'm not going to waste any time. Let's just throw that move on since it is our best same type move effectively. And let's just see how she goes now when we have Surf strats. So once again here, we'll set up the Rain Dance. She's going to go for Thunder Wave, but she misses this time. We go for Surf, and that gets a one-hit KO on the first Magnemite. Surf will one-hit KO the second Magnemite. Steelix comes out. We go for Surf. We do massive damage, getting a one-hit KO. So clearly, you don't even need to take any other battles in order to get through Jasmine with a Suicune. Because it already learns Rain Dance via level up, you're basically good to go right there. Now I think since we're already down here, let's go ahead and try our hand at Chuck. We may need to change our moveset up against Chuck's Poliwrath with something like Headbutt, but that's maybe all that we'll actually need. Still, I'm going to try Surf Rain Dance strats just to see how it works out, because that may be enough in and of itself. Of course, we've got the Black Belt Bros first, so I'm just going to go ahead and set up a Rain Dance here as we get jump kicked and now go for Surf. Let's just see how much damage it does. It's going to be a 2-hit KO even after the Rain Dance. Still, we get through the first of the Black Belt Bros just fine, so we'll just stick with the same strategy here against the Hitmonchan as it just goes Comet Punch. We're definitely getting through these Pokemon in spite of their higher special defense. We can still get the job done. That makes me think we can get through the rest of these randos, so let's just make our way to Chucky Boy and see how this goes. So here against Chuck, I'm just kind of interested to see how we'll do with Rain Dance Surf strats, just to see if it can work or not. I don't think he'll go Surf against us because of the fact that he's going to be thinking Dynamic Punch is stronger. So it's just going to be kind of interesting to see. I'll throw on the Mint Berry and let's just see how this fight actually works out. So Chuck attempt number 1 right here. Let's lead off with Rain Dance. He goes Leer with the Primeape, but now we can just go Surf, and that's not quite getting a one-hit KO. We can bite this Pokemon down from there, getting us to level 28. Poliwrath comes out next. Let's just see what Surf does. It does decent enough damage, 27 damage here, so this is a 4-hit KO. He Mind Readers as we get him to half health. He hits Hypnosis, but we had the Mint Berry on, and we just need one more hit. He goes Dynamic Punch and manages to hit it, but we still move, and he's just barely surviving. We just need to land any hit here, and we do win. So we beat Chuck on the first attempt, in spite of the fact that we didn't even come in with a neutrally effective move there. I mean, that's basically what the Rain Dance does for us in that one. It cancels out the resistance of Surf effectively, allowing us to deal decent damage with that move in spite of the fact that it's normally resisted. And hey, I mean, we don't have a whole lot that's stronger than that, so we'll take it. And with that, we can now move on to the Rocket Hideout and Pryce. We've already gotten Fly, so we're going to be able to move pretty efficiently here. Let's just see how easy this last gym is with our Suicune. Of course, I think we could have made all those fights a lot easier by simply coming to the Rocket Hideout first and getting the free levels here. But it's just kind of fun to see sometimes when you can get through fights without even needing to go through all the randos. You can just go as directly as possible. In fact, if you've been watching RBY Pokemon challenges recently, he is on a big kick for ultra minimum battles right now, where he only fights gym leaders and the Elite Four in the champion. That's it. And seeing how many Pokemon can get through the Gen 1 games on those settings. I'm interested to try something like that here in Gen 2. We're negotiating how to do that. I need to maybe get his help to make a ROM hack, and of course, if there are any mistakes in the ROM hack, it will be RBY's fault. But if we can manage to get something like that going here, it would be really cool to see if some of these legendaries could do a similar challenge in Gen 2 with 16 gym leaders, the Elite Four, and of course, technically Lance is the champion and Red is the final boss. It would be very, very interesting to see. It would be 22 battles in total, but we would be seeing if you could beat Red with his level 70 Pokemon without having to fight anything random in the game, which I think would be super interesting to try after we finish this series. It may just need a very special ROM hack in order to make it work. Now, of course, Suicune completely destroys the Rocket Hideout. We get to the final executive here. Let's go for Surf on the first Arbok. It's a one-hit KO. Gloom comes out next. I'm going to go Bite here. Looks like it might even be a 3-hitter, but Absorb isn't going to do that much, so we'll get through just fine on that Pokemon. And now for the Murkrow, let's go back to Surf, and that's going to get a very easy victory here. At level 30, we've gotten through the entire Rocket Hideout section. Now it's just time to go take on Pryce and see how he actually goes. So Pryce, of course, leads off with his Seal. I'm going to set up Rain Dance here because I'm just very interested to see how much damage we'll do with the Surf after that. Here we can Surf against the Seal, and we do about half with Surf thanks to the Rain Dance being up. So easy 2-hit KO there as we get to level 31. Now we get to learn Gust via level up. I'm not sure if this move is actually useful or not, but I'm going to learn it over Leer just because I can, and just because I find it kind of hilarious that this Pokemon learns Gust. Like, clearly they brought over a moveset from Articuno here or something. As we get to the Dugong, we'll just stick with Surf on this one. It looks like it's going to be a 3-hit KO as we just get Headbutt, and the Headbutt's not going to do enough. The Rain does stop allowing it to survive, but we'll just Gust this Pokemon down, and now we can go Surf on the Piloswine. We don't have the Rain, but it's enough to just one-shot anyway, so we completely destroy Pryce, and we're ready to move on in the game. So Suicune proves once again that it is a legendary Pokemon by completely destroying all of this section. Now we've got to move on to the next section against Claire. We do get Blizzard as a TM. We do have Icy Wind as a non-OP TM. Aurora Beam would come in at level 41. I'm not sure if we get there or not in time for Claire herself, but there are some possibilities at least here to look at. So we'll just have to see how that section goes. But for now, we're moving on. Now let's get to our electric types, starting with Zapdos. So here Zapdos comes in knowing Peck, Thundershock, Thunder Wave, and Mud Slap. I think our best play with this Pokemon, given our type weaknesses, is going to be to go down to Chucky Boy first, since we do have super effective moves against everything down there, and that should at least allow us to gain some additional levels. Then we're going to have to see how we get through that Piloswine later on. I think Fly will help us a lot there. I think we have to put Jasmine off for last in this one because we're just really not going to have a whole lot of good moves to use. So first things first, let's get to the Black Belt Bros, where I think Peck will be enough, but let's just find out. Here against the Hitmonlee, we Peck once. We don't take too much damage from its double kick, and we just knock it out the next turn, so that was super easy. Now we can just stick with the same on this Hitmonchan, and as long as it doesn't Ice Punch, well, even if it does, it didn't do that much, so we just get an easy 2-hit KO, and we can progress in this part of the game. So let's just make our way to Chucky Boy and see if we can get the victory at this point. And sure enough, we get to Chuck with no issues. Let's see if Thundershock is enough here to get us through that Poliwrath. I think Peck is enough to get us through Primeape, but we'll just have to see if it works or not. So first up, Chuck leads off with the Primeape. I'm just going to peck this Pokemon. It looks like a 2-hit KO as we take a Leer, but that's perfectly fine. Poliwrath comes out next. I'm going to Thunder Wave it once just to try to get it to be fully paralyzed. Now let's see what Thundershock does. It looks like it's going to be a 3-hitter. We have the Mint Berry on, so the Hypnosis doesn't matter. We can knock it out in just a couple more hits as he goes for a Mind Reader again. He didn't even damage us as we get through nice and easy with our Zapdos. Now I think we are going to pick up Fly fly here, but then make our way over to the rocket hideout. We're still way far away from getting access to Drill Peck, so I think at this point, learning fly is the best decision for us. Have a stronger physical move, so we'll just slap that on over Peck, and that should make the rocket hideout pretty easy overall, but let's just see how it actually goes. Now, sure enough, we get through the rocket hideout with no issues, so we're to the final executive with Zapdos, and this should be super easy. Let's just see how we do against this Arbok here. I'm going to go for fly since it's my strongest move. It's going to be a 2-hitter, but we'll just Thundershock it down from there. That brings out Murkrow. We'll just go Thundershock, getting the 1-hit KO. And against Gloom, we can just go fly, getting a very, very easy victory. Basically, as long as you don't miss, you're going to win and get to level 30 right there. But now with that done, let's make our way to Pryce since he is our best shot here. He's going to have super effective ice moves against us, but we'll have super effective electric moves against the first 2 Pokemon at least. Then we'll just maybe have to go for some Mud Slap strats on the final Piloswine to get through. But let's see how this actually works out. Of course, the big issue here is that we don't get a whole lot of moves to learn in this section. Like, we can obviously go for Thunder if we really need to, and we can go for Return, but I mean, that's really it as far as like strong moves that we could learn in this section of the game to give us some sort of an advantage. Obviously, Thunder would only be good against the first 2 Pokemon here on Chuck's team, so I'm not sure it's actually going to work out, but let's test this out and see. So Chuck attempt number 1, I'm going to lead off with the Thundershock here on the first seal. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. We just missed getting the 1-hit KO on that Pokemon. Piloswine comes out next. So I'm going to Mud Slap this Pokemon a couple times, trying to lower the accuracy of Blizzard. It's going for Fury Attack, so now I'm going to fly and just see how much damage I do. It looks like we did a little less than half, so I'm going to set up more of these Mud Slaps, just getting its accuracy down as low as I can, and now go back to fly, hoping that it misses. It hits another Fury Attack, but we should be able to knock it out on the next hit. So we do manage to get to Dugong at least. Thundershock does about half. Aurora Beam does a lot, but let's see if we get the KO. Sure enough, we do. So we beat Pryce on the first attempt. It's kind of close there, but it is possible to get the victory in the end. But with that done, we now have to make our way to Jasmine, and we may even forget Thundershock here in order to learn a different move. It's not like there's a lot that's available to us, of course, but my basic idea is this. We're going to go in here. We're going to try to set up the Mud Slaps to just simply, number 1, knock out the 2 Magnemites, then hopefully be able to get the accuracy all the way down on that Steelix. Then we'll start using Fly on the basis that it will cause it to use up some of its PP in between each hit, and maybe we can just stall it out somehow in order to get it to use up all of its PP, and maybe Mud Slap and Fly together will be enough. I'm just going to test this out and see. Let's find out if it's possible to get a victory here or not, or do we have to throw on something like Return or something to have even more PP to damage with. So Jasmine attempt number 1. Let's lead off with the Mud Slap on the Magnemite. I did not put on the Paralyzed Cure Berry. That's a massive mistake. Still, we do manage to knock the first one out and get to level 31. She sends out Steelix immediately, and it goes Rock Throw against me. Because I'm fully paralyzed here, we're just not going to win this one. We can see that we survived 3 Rock Throws, though, so that does tell us some useful information that we're basically just going to need to get the miss from the first Magnemite, and we might be able to get this to go. Let's just see. So this time we get a miss from the Magnemite, so we're going to get through to the Steelix on full health with no paralysis. Let's still go all in on the Mud Slap, so we want this Pokemon to have basically no accuracy left if we can manage it. Once it's on -6 accuracy, I'm going to switch into Fly. Even though it is resisted, we are forcing it to use the move Rock Throw while we're in the air and it can't hit us. And of course, all of the damage we're doing is just really chip damage here, but it is going to end up using up all of the Rock Throws that it has available. Now it's trying to use Iron Tail, and it simply knocks me out because I was on low health. Still, it looks like we need another damage dealing move. There aren't really a lot of good moves available to us, but technically we can learn Rock Smash, which would allow us to lower the defense of that Steelix if we can manage to get the luck for that roll. So I'm actually going to forget Thundershock to learn Rock Smash here, and let's just see what that does for us. My logic here, of course, is that we could always learn Thunder to have a stronger same type move anyway. Thunder has 10 PP, so even though it's less accurate, it does at least have enough PP that I think will get us through a lot of fights. We'll just have to see, but for now, let's see if the Rock Smash strats are enough here. So against the Magnemite, we'll stick with Mud Slap. It is the best play here. Once again, we get a nice miss, so we do get through to the Steelix, and again, we're just going to spam the Mud Slaps here, hoping for some good accuracy luck. If it just hits all of the rock throws, we're simply going to lose, obviously. So nothing that we can do there. We're going to need a little bit better accuracy luck to get through this one. So this time we have gotten her accuracy all the way down, and we're slowly whittling down the Steelix's defense as well. We just couldn't manage to get enough misses to actually get through here though. This time we've managed to get 3 defense drops, and I'm going to go into Fly here, get a nice critical hit. We can see did massive damage. Unfortunately, we just got knocked out from there. Now this is making me think that we might be better off to reset for the luck to try to just get the miss from the Magnemite naturally rather than using the Paralyzed Cure Berry and throw on a Gold Berry instead to try to recover some HP. This could theoretically buy us one more turn of survivability here, and that might be what we actually need to get through. So in this case, we'll just reset anytime that we get paralyzed from the first Magnemite, knowing that it's got a decent enough chance of missing after the Mud Slap. So this time we get back to the Steelix, but we've got the Gold Berry on instead, so we should be able to survive maybe one more hit here after that heal, and we're just hoping to get all the Mud Slaps set up on this Pokemon first. Then I'm gonna try a couple of these Rock Smashes, hoping that we can get some defense drops on this Pokemon. This time we're not getting that much luck with defense drops. We managed to get 2, but we get knocked out at that point. I think we're going for at least 2 defense drops here just to get Fly to do more damage. This time we're getting like the best luck ever. We've gotten all 6 accuracy drops off. We've already gotten a defense drop on this Pokemon. We get a second defense drop there before we even take the first rock throw. Now I'm going to go for Fly. Let's just see how much damage we do. Still not very much, but we get to use the Gold Berry here. I'm just going to stall out the PP of Rock Throw as much as I can so that it ends up having to use Iron Tail instead against me. And this is basically the core of the strategy. Once it's out of Rock Throws, now we can just sit here and Fly, knowing that Iron Tail has lower accuracy and is going to be resisted. So we actually take the Steelix down this time. We get to the final Magnemite. I'm going Mud Slap here. It hits the Thunder Wave, but then Thunderbolt's only neutrally effective and we win. So it took a ton of attempts there to get through Jasmine, but the strategy does turn out to be to not even try the Paralyzed Cure Berry, go for a Gold Berry there, with the entire logic being that if you can stall out all the PP on Rock Throw, you can manage to get through that fight, but the extra turn of healing really helps there. That was not pretty. That was really kind of sad for a legendary Pokemon that we had to go that YOLO to get through this. It's not really like you would get any advantage by throwing on the move Return here, because number one, Return is going to be effectively the same power as Fly, but it doesn't stall out PP like the Fly does here. So Fly is the superior play, I think. It just isn't really pretty to get through that section of the game. Still, Zapdos does move on. Let's move on now to Raikou. So here with Raikou, we have one major advantage over Zapdos, which is that we know the move Dig. We also have Thundershock, Leer, and Bite on our moveset, so I think we're going to do a little bit better here. Obviously, we don't have as good of a move to use against Chuck, so I'm going to go to Pryce first in this one. I think this is the way to go, but Jasmine should be significantly easier in this case since we actually have a decent super effective move to use there. Though of course it is a physical move, so it's probably not going to do great damage. We'll just have to see. We also have the advantage though that we don't have any type weaknesses here against Pryce, nor do we have any type weaknesses against Jasmine, so we should in theory be able to maybe use Leer together with Dig in order to get an advantage there. Now sure enough, Raikou gets through this entire section of the game with no issues, so we can make it to the final Rocket Executive. We're against the Arbok. I think Dig is the best play. We are going to get a 2-hit KO here, but it just goes Poison Sting, which does basically nothing, so that's perfectly fine. Gloom comes out next. I'm not sure if we're better off going for Dig or Bite, but I mean, Dig is neutrally effective, so I'll simply try this move. It looks like it's going to take multiple hits to get through here. We get put to sleep by the sleep powder, unfortunately. Still, as long as we can wake up, it looks like it's a 3 or 4 hit KO. We'll just bite it down from there. And finally, Murkrow comes out. We'll go Thunder Shock, getting the 1-hit KO, and that allows us to get through the Rocket hideout with no issues whatsoever. Now let's go see if we can make our way through Pryce. So Pryce, attempt number 1, he leads off with the Seal. I'm just going to go for Thunder Shock here. It's going to be a 2-hit KO as he just goes Icy Wind. Even after the speed drop, we're going to be faster than everything here, so I think we're just fine. Against the Piloswine, I'm not sure if I should go for Bite or I should go for Dig. Let's try Bite since they're equal power and we have higher special attack. We could also get flinches here. It looks like this is going to be a 5-hit KO with the Bite though. Here he just goes Mist though before he goes for the Hyper Potion, and if we just keep getting enough flinches here, we should be able to get through. However, we get frozen by a blizzard, so we lose the first attempt, unfortunately. Let's try this one again. So this time instead, I'm going to try going Leer a couple times on the Piloswine to lower its defense. It does go Mist to prevent Leer, so now I'm going to go for Dig and just see how much damage we do. We're still not doing very much. We would have liked to get a lot more Leers on this Pokemon because it looks like we're basically doing the same damage here with Bite, maybe slightly more with Dig, but it's not really a great range here, and Mist prevents us from being able to set up a bunch here. Still, Dig does kind of stall out some of the Blizzard PP, and now we can just bite this Pokemon down, getting to level 28 as the Dugong comes out. I'll go Thunder Shock. This looks like a 3-hit KO, unfortunately, and so we actually get knocked out there by the Aurora Beams. So this is looking a little bit rougher than I would have expected. I would have expected to just come in and completely stunt on Pryce, but instead, he's actually putting in a little work against a legendary here. Here, when he doesn't use Mist, though, I'm going to set up multiple Leers and now try to go Dig against this Piloswine, leading to us doing significantly more damage. And if we can just avoid the blizzards for a bunch of turns, we might be able to get the victory here. Unfortunately, he gets the hit and gets us on low health, and we're probably not getting through on this one because we're on such low health. And while Thunder is certainly a solution here, I'm not sure if I want to go that far just yet. So instead, I'm going to make my way to the randos down inside of Chucky Boy's gym. Let's just see if we can get through them and maybe gain a couple extra levels, take down Chuck, and then come back and try Pryce later on. We also haven't done the lighthouse yet, so we can get a little extra XP there as well to help us get through this section. So here we've made it to Chucky Boy's gym. Let's just try the Black Belt Bros here. Against the Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan, we're better off going for a physical move because they have lower defense. Plus, we can get crash damage on this Hitmonlee. It still looks like it's a 3-hit KO with the Dig though, so we're going to have to knock it out from there, and we might have to rethink our strategy just a little bit here on the Hitmonchan. I'm going to give it 1 Leer first. It goes Ice Punch, which isn't a big deal. Now we can go for Dig. We still do slightly less than half because Hitmonchan's a little more defensively bulky. I'll set up another Leer here, and that does allow me to get through. So we do manage to get through there. It's not super pretty, but it definitely isn't bad to get through the Black Belt Bros. Now I think we can use Thunder Shock for the rest of the randos here since they have lower special defense. Let's make our way to Chucky Boy. And here I just realized this Pokemon never picked up the plain badge from Whitney because she was just too busy crying. You have to go back and talk to her again. So I'm going to have to run back and get the plain badge to actually be able to progress here. So we've been running with no badge boost in our speed. With that in tow, now we can actually use strength to get through this section, but something that we should definitely keep an eye on for these remaining Pokemon. Whitney might have just been so easy that I just ran straight past her without actually getting the plain badge. So here we do manage to get to Chucky Boy, but one thing that makes me a little nervous, Thunder Shock is not doing as much damage as I would expect. Like the Primeape on this last Black Belt before you get to Chuck was still a 3-hit KO with Thunder Shock. We might need to go Thunder here in order to have a decent chance of getting through. We'll just have to see. Well, let's test this out. So Chuck, attempt number 1 against this first Primeape. I'm going to go Thunder Shock, and yet again, this looks like a 3-hit KO, so we're going to take a fair amount of damage here. Still, we do manage to get through. The Poliwrath is out next. We go Thunder Shock, and this looks to be a 3-hitter as well. We get Hypnosis because I did not put on a Mint Berry, but we wake up immediately and knock it out, getting to level 30. So Chuck turns out not to be a big deal. We do manage to get through at this point. And now with his badge in tow, I'm going to try to go back to Pryce and just see if we can get the victory, since that will give us a badge boost in special. I think beating Pryce will let us get an extra level, which should help a lot against Jasmine, but let's just see how this actually works out. So first things first, we're back against the Seal. We go Thunder Shock. Oh, I came in without healing, so we're probably losing this one. Still, we managed to knock that Pokemon out. Piloswine comes out next. I'm going to bite this Pokemon, trying to get flinches. Bite at this point appears to be a 4-hit KO, so we should actually have better odds of getting through this fight, just because we can go for flinch strats together with hoping that he gets misses. Still, we didn't heal here, so we're coming in on low health, but we do get to Dugong. A critical hit does not one-shot here, so we lose, but this is clearly going to be a winnable fight with a heal. Healed up now, let's try this one again and see how it goes. Against the Seal, once again, we will get the pretty easy victory right here with the 2-hitter with Thunder Shock, and let's just go bite strats all in on this Piloswine since it's a 4-hitter. Here we even get the critical hit to knock it out, so we're still on high green health going to Dugong. It hits the Aurora Beam, but it's not enough, and we get the 2-hit KO. Or no, actually a 3-hit KO, but that's clearly just because we wanted to finish this battle with 69 HP, so we knock out that Dugong, and we finally get the victory against Pryce. We're very close to leveling up to level 31 here, which we'll get after the first Magnemite on Jasmine's team, but now we have to see if Dig plus Leer is going to be enough to get us through that gym leader. It is much better than what we were dealing with Mud Slap and Rock Smash strats previously, especially because we don't have any type weaknesses, so we'll just resist the move Iron Tail, and I think Dig is going to be more than enough to one-shot the Magnemites with the 4-time super effectiveness. So I think this is another spot where we go in with a Gold Berry rather than going in with a Paralyzed Cure Berry and just see if it's enough to get us through. So Jasmine, attempt number 1. Let's go for Dig right here on the first Magnemite. We get an easy 1-hit KO on that one and get to level 31. We could learn Quick Attack here. I don't think it's worth it to learn this move. We're already fast enough, I think, and we can get better normal type moves if we need them. Second Magnemite comes out. We'll just stick with Dig, getting the easy 1-hit KO on that Pokemon as well. That brings out the Steelix. I'm going to set up at least a couple of Leers here first. Iron Tail didn't do a lot, so I'm even going to go harder on the Leer just so that we do as much damage as possible. Now let's go Dig. We do slightly less than half, so we would need 5 Leers, I think, in order to do half damage here. Since we know she's likely to heal, I'm just going to do that last one more Leer there. We get a critical hit, and just like that, we manage to knock out Jasmine. So Raikou gets through with no issues whatsoever, and we're able to move on in the game. It wasn't always the prettiest with that Pokemon, but definitely possible to get the job done. Now we've got to move on to Moltres and Entei and just see how they go. So let's check in on Moltres first. Now coming in with Moltres, of course, we have Wing Attack, Ember, Fire Spin, and Mud Slap, so a pretty decent moveset for this section of the game. It's definitely a lot better than what we were dealing with when we did that full game run with the Bright Powder Moltres that was using the Gen 1 moveset, so I think we have a pretty decent chance of getting through this section on minimum battles. I think we should actually try to make our way to Jasmine first, though we can go to Chuck's gym as well, since we do have the super effective Stab Wing Attack, which should do significantly more damage than we were doing with Peck in that previous full game run. So let's just see how this actually works out in this section. It also looks like we still have to do the Lighthouse, so we'll gain maybe 1 additional level there as well. Now here we can learn Agility. I'm going to go ahead and learn this move because I don't really think we're going to go for Fire Spin strats very much, so I think Agility might actually give us an advantage in some really key spots. We'll just have to see if it ever actually works out or not, but for now, I'll throw that on the moveset over Fire Spin, which is really just kind of bad in this generation. And I figure while we're in Cyanwood, let's just try to take on the randos inside of Chucky Boy's gym and see if we get the easy victories or not. Against the first Black Belt bro with the Hitmonlee, we go Wing Attack and get a one-hit KO. So I think that's going to be the same case on the Hitmonchan. Let's find out. We Wing Attack and it just barely survives and goes Fire Punch against me. Good job. So just like that, we're going to get through. Now we can make our way through the rest of the randos here. Let's even just try our hand at Chuck one time. Now, of course, I'm expecting him to go Surf against me, but we have pretty decent special defense, so we may be able to tank it and survive. I'll give the Mint Berry just in case he decides to go for the Sleep, but I think it's most likely he's going for Surf strats here. Let's see if we get the victory or not. So Chucky Boy attempt number 1 will go Wing Attack here on the Primeape, getting a very easy victory on that Pokemon. Out comes the Poliwrath. We go Wing Attack doing over half. He goes Mind Reader, and that just lets us get the free victory on that Pokemon. No issues whatsoever getting through Chuck with this Moltres. And now while we can pick up Fly and it is slightly stronger than Wing Attack, I think I'm going to hold off on that move because, of course, Wing Attack doesn't have to take multiple turns, and there are some moves that can hit you in the air in this generation, so I think it's better to avoid learning that too quickly. Instead, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and try to take on Jasmine at this point. We have Stab Ember, which should be pretty decent here. It's just a question of whether or not it one-shots against the Magnemites. Otherwise, we do have the Mud Slap strats as well to lean on if we absolutely need them. So Jasmine attempt number 1 right here. She's going to lead off with the Magnemite. Let's just give her an Ember, and that just barely misses being a one-hit KO, surviving with 1 HP. That could even be a range at this point. Of course, now Thunderbolt is going to do massive damage and we're going to lose. But I want to test this one more time just to see. Charcoal might be the solution here. So let's try Jasmine again. This time with Charcoal, we are going to get the one-hit KO on the first Magnemite. Second Magnemite, we'll go back to the Ember, getting a one-hitter there as well, getting the level 28 as the Steelix comes out. Now we're 4 times weak to Rock Throw, but I'm going to try Ember to see the range. It looks like a 3-hitter here, and it looks like Rock Throw is going to 2-hit KO me. Of course, if we can get a burn, we will have a pretty easy victory. Otherwise, it looks like 1 Mud Slap is what we need here in order to get through that one. Now, of course, if we had Fire Blast, that would get a very, very easy victory here, but I'm going to avoid that strat if at all possible. So instead, let's give 1 Mud Slap to the Steelix, hoping to get a miss. Then we can go into the Ember, and unfortunately, no misses there. But if we get even 1 miss, we should win here. The reason is because I believe she will go for the KO, even if she's in a range to be KO'd herself. She misses the Rock Throw this time, misses a second Rock Throw, and that allows us to get the victory against Jasmine. So you just have to manipulate her just ever so slightly there, but it's pretty consistent once you get the Charcoal on. It's not like it's going to be a tough spot. And granted, we could have just gone to the Rocket Hideout at that point and gained another couple levels and then come back and probably gotten an easy 2-hit KO there. But in that case, she might actually heal because of the fact that she knows she's in a 2-hit KO range. She will always go for the hit, though, if she's going to knock you out. At least that's as best as I can tell from the Gen 2 AI. So it's kind of a situation where she might not actually use the Hyper Potion there. Still, with that done, let's just go beat up on everything in the Rocket Hideout and make our way to Pryce, who only has neutrally effective damage against a fire type, so we should be doing pretty fine there as well. But let's see if that's the case. And sure enough, we get to the final executive with no issues here, so let's just see how this fight actually goes. Now, one thing very quickly, you might be looking at some of those values on the moveset on the bottom left and saying, wait a second, like those powers don't quite make sense. I'm actually trying to update it so that it will include things like the badge boosts that you get from specific gym leaders and to include things like held items. So that's why Ember's showing 66 power there. We have the stab bonus plus a 10% from the Charcoal, theoretically at least. I have to check if the order of operations is correct, but I believe that's correct for the calculation. And then for the Wing Attack, we have the situation where it's stab, but it's also also boosted by Falkner's badge, which is why it's not going to be a 180 there, but it's going to get an additional 12.5% from the badge boost, which is why it's showing as 101 power there. So if you're wondering why those powers are showing a little bit weird, that is the reason why. I'm still working on some of the type effectiveness stuff. Doesn't seem to quite calculate incorrectly, but that is a project I'm working on in the background. Still here, we can easily knock out the Arbok on this trainer. We're just going to stick with Wing Attack on the Murkrow, getting an easy one-hit KO, and we can go Wing Attack on the Gloom, getting another easy one-hitter, so we defeat the entire Rocket Hideout nice and easy, and we're ready to make our way to Pryce, even with some weird-looking powers on our moves. Now, one issue I can already see is it looks like it's calculating that in on the powers of opponents' moves as well. So we'll have to see if that is something that I can fix pretty easily, or is it just because of the implementation that I'm using that I need to make a separate function for enemy moves, since they don't have badges and they don't have held items. Anyway, we're going to make it to Pryce right here, and let's just see how he actually goes with the fact that we have Stab Wing Attack here, and we've got Ember that should be pretty good against the Piloswine. I think we'll be able to get through, but we'll just have to see if we can survive enough hits. So Pryce attempt number 1, we'll go Wing Attack on the first Seal. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. Icy Wind doesn't do that much, and we're still faster than the Dugong even after this speed drop. We get to level 31 right there. We can go for Wing Attack. It looks like it's just barely not a 2-hit KO. Still, we can just go for anything. Ember's going to be perfectly fine there to knock that one out. And now on the Piloswine, I will go Ember since it's going to be the stronger move. And there's some issue here where Wing Attack is showing as 0 power, which is clearly incorrect. It should be the opposite way around. Seems to be a flying ground mismatch going on here in my overlay. So I will get that fixed after this episode. But for now, 2 Embers is all that it takes to take down the Piloswine, and we are good to go. So really no issues getting through with a Gen 2 Moltres here with the Wing Attack and Ember as its starting moveset. Nice to see that it's doing a lot better than that Gen 1 Bright Powder Moltres that we ran for the full game solo run. If you haven't seen that already, go ahead and check it out. It was a very interesting run to say the least. Anyway, with that done, now let's check in on Entei and see how it goes. So we have Entei here, of course, coming in with Bite, Leer, Ember, and Dig. It doesn't have a super effective move against Chuck, so I think we're going to avoid that for now. Let's make our way first to the Rocket Hideout, get the levels there, then we'll go back down to Jasmine, I think. Though Pryce shouldn't be too bad either, given the fact that he doesn't have any water-type moves, and we will actually resist the ice type. So we may be able to take that one on as well, but we'll just test out and see. But otherwise, I think Jasmine will be the easiest gym leader here, given that Dig should just completely destroy the Magnemites either way, and we should have a pretty good setup with Ember against the Steelix. Still, I reckon we can at least try the randos here inside of Chuck's gym, so let's just see if we can get through them nice and easy. First up, against the Black Belt Bros, we've got the Hitmonlee. I'm just going to use Dig right here. He, of course, misses the jump kick and crashes to the ground, and this might be a 2-hit KO. Sure enough, we managed to get through with 2 hits, at least with the crit. That will bring us to the Hitmonchan. I did not heal coming into these fights, which is a little bit of a mistake. Still, let's give this Hitmonchan a couple of Leers and then go back into our Dig, and sure enough, that gets the victory nice and easy. Now we can just try our hand against the rest of the randos, and who knows, maybe even Chuck while we're down here just to see how he goes, though we do have a bit of a type weakness. But it turns out the second of these black belts is actually really tough here, so I think we have to maybe reroute and just avoid this gym for now. The issue is, of course, that the Machoke knows the move Rock Slide, which does a lot of damage there. So I'm going to reroute. I'm going to go back up to deliver the secret potion. I will try Jasmine once, but if that doesn't work, we'll make our way to the Rocket Hideout and Pryce, since that seems to be the better way to go. We might even want to move like Headbutt over Bite with this Pokemon, given the fact that we do have a significantly higher attack stat than special attack stat. Still, we'll worry about all of that later. Let's first make our way to Jasmine and just see if we can manage the victory or not. So Jasmine attempt number 1, I'm just going to Dig against the Magnemite. here. She can't do anything to us. We'll just knock it out and get to level 26. Steelix comes out next. Let's go for the Ember. This looks like a 3-hitter and we get the burn. So add on a critical hit and we just get through in 2 hits there. That brings out the second Magnemite. We'll just dig once again and get the super easy victory. Are you kidding me? Oh, Jasmine, she never stood a chance against Entei. And just like that, we're ready to move on. Let's now make our way over to Pryce and the Rocket Hideout to gain some additional levels, and then we'll go back to take on Chucky Boy. And sure enough, we get through this whole section with no issues, so just throw on a quick heal, and let's go ahead and take on the final Rocket Executive. She's going to lead off with her Arbok, of course. Our best play is going to be to go for Dig here since it's super effective and uses our higher attack stat. We just barely missed the 1-hit KO. Still, Ember will just knock it out on the next turn, getting us to level 29. Against Murkrow, we've got nothing better than Ember. We get a nice burn here at least, so we do manage to get through in 2 hits. And against the Gloom, I'll just stick with the Ember as well. It's going to be a 2-hitter. She drops acid, but it's nice and easy to get through that Executive with no issues whatsoever. Now we can make our way to Pryce and just see if we can get a nice easy victory there. Worst case scenario, I do see us putting on the move Headbutt to get through the first 2 Pokemon, since at least it will use our higher attack stat, and that may be all that we actually need. Still, I'll try my moveset as it is, so let's take on our first attempt at Pryce. So here against the Seal, I'm going to go for Dig. It misses a Headbutt while I'm underground. This looks like it's going to be a 3-hit KO. We actually get the 2-hit KO range there, which is nice. Now against the Dugong, I'm actually going to try Ember just to see, but it doesn't seem like it's doing enough damage. So I'm going to use a couple of Leers first, then go for Dig. And now we're doing pretty significant damage. It might rest here, but we do manage to knock that Pokemon out just fine. Piloswine's out last. We'll go for the Ember here. It looks like a 3-hitter. We get a nice bird on this Pokemon. And with that, we get the 2-hit KO range. So we're getting lots of burns with this Entei. He's just like, I'm gonna burn everything to the ground. Clearly, that is his strategy for getting through these, kind of questionable fights. He's just like, hey, can't really damage me if you're burned. So works out for us, nice and fine. We'll make our way back to Chucky Boy here, where at this point we're at a higher level. We've obviously gotten a few additional boosts to our power as well, since Ember will be boosted by the fact that we just got the Glacier badge. Let's see if this is enough or if we need to add on Headbutt instead of that Bite in order to get through this section. So sure enough, we make it to Chucky Boy. Let's just see how we actually do here. I'm going to try the Dig strats first, and then we'll try something else if that doesn't work. I think Headbutt will be the play at that point, but I just want to see if we can get through with what we've got right now or not. So Chuck attempt number 1, we'll go Ember first on the Primeape. It looks like this is a 3-hit KO, and he's just going Fury Swipe, so that's perfectly fine by me. We'll take that Pokemon down. Now on the Poliwrath, I'm going to Leer at it. It goes Surf, dealing significant damage to me. So I think without some sort of Headbutt flinch here, we're just not going to get through. So I'm going to reset here and try this one again, but this time with an upgraded move in Headbutt. I'm going to learn this over Bite because I just think it's the better play for this Pokemon given our higher attack stat. So here we are, attempt number 2. I'm just going to go Headbutt here against the Primeape. It's going to be an easy 2-hit KO with that move. Now on the Poliwrath, we're faster. We get a Hypnosis Miss turn 1. It goes Surf turn 2, but we get the 3-hit KO. So Chuck does go down thanks to the Headbutts. And just like that, we have progressed in the game with our Entei. And with that, we can see that all of the legendary birds and legendary beasts have gotten through this section nice and easy. It's kind of what you would expect, of course, in this section of the game. I mean, these are pretty OP Pokemon. They're not always as simple as you would initially expect, though, given their stats, because they do have some situations where opponents are using strong moves against them, or they have a type resistance that they're dealing with that causes them to not deal as much damage. So we'll just have to see how this goes moving forward. But for now, they all get through and they're ready to go to the Claire section. So coming back to our results so far, we have now reached 106 Pokemon, successfully completing the Jasmine section without any need for struggle strats, OPTMs, etc. They have gotten the job done. Add another 22 Pokemon down in that struggle or OPTMs column, and we can officially say that more than half of the Pokedex can complete the first 7 gyms on minimum battles in Gen 2, which frankly is nuts. I mean, we know the rest of our challengers are pretty much going to crush here, so we can legitimately expect to have well over half the Pokedex still at our disposal when we're going to the Claire section. But now, before we move on, let's get to a new channel member pick, which is the Cubone. It's not showing here right now, but trust me, it'll show up in a minute. And let's just see how this Pokemon goes. Now, Cubone is being supported by a relatively new channel member, Dr. Mystic31, who requested this Pokemon with the move Ancient Power. Now, I'm going to see what it actually takes to get this Pokemon through, because frankly, I think there's a lot of things that this Pokemon might need. Remember that a standard Cubone at the start of the game starts with only Growl and Tail Whip. It doesn't have any damage dealing moves, and that was the real issue here. Ancient Power will give us a physical attacking move to actually damage our opponents with. One question that I have though is, would we have been able to progress with struggle strats? It's something that I don't think I tested with this Pokemon. That was back before I was sure if I was going to allow struggle or not in this challenge. So I'm going to run very quickly with some struggle just to see if that allows us to get through some of the early game or not. Now, of course, we could encounter tons of wild Pokemon in this section of the game in order to just use up our non-damaging PP. So I'm going to try to go straight into the Rival 1 fight, first with struggle with the Baryon, then with maybe Growl or Tail Whip on plus struggle to see if we can find a way through. The reason I think this might work is because we have kind of decent defense, so it might be a situation where with the berry and with maybe a crit, we can actually get a victory here. So first attempt going in with the berry with no PP, let's just see if we can get a victory or not. So here we go struggle and we do 4 damage with our first hit to Chikorita. It goes Growl against us. Now its tackle only did 3 damage against us, though we are getting growled at more. We might actually be able to get this to go with the berry. We're currently ahead in the damage race and we're not taking very much damage from its tackles. So sure enough, struggle is enough to get you through that first fight against the rival. So with that out of the way, now we can see if we can actually get through youngster Mikey here, and we get access to Bone Club at level 9 and Headbutt at level 13. We wouldn't get to level 13 normally before Falkner anyway, but I still just want to see how far we can actually get with this. So here we're ready to go into the youngster fight, and yet again, I'm just going to come in with no PP in my moves. We can just give another berry here, and let's just see if this turns out to be enough as well. So here we do over half to the first Pidgey with our first struggle, so we knock it out in 2 hits. Out comes the Rattata. It goes Tail Whip against us. It's going to be a 3-hit KO with struggle, and it just goes Tail Whip the whole way, so we actually win that. And with that, we're ready to go to the gym. Of course, we don't have great stats. We're only going in at level 6. We're going to have to take on a level 9 Spearow. But again, we have decent defense, so this might be possible with the Baryon. We'll just have to see. Let's test it out. So here we are against Honest Abe. He does like 6 damage with his first hit, and we only did 5 damage to him. So this looks pretty sus. We're probably not getting through this one without some sort of like crazy critical hit luck. So right there is where we actually do hit the wall, and we're probably not getting through. Now we could test to see what happens with growls or tail whips here, but I'm not sure if we would gain enough turns in order to actually make it work. Still, I'm going to go in with a growl first. Let's see if we growl to reduce his damage and then struggle if we have a chance. So here we growl once at the Spearow. That reduces it to doing 5 damage instead of 6 damage, but we're still going to go down pretty quick because of the recoil from our own hits. That's just not going to get the job done. So I'll try instead using a tail whip here just to see if we can deal more damage, and maybe that gives us an advantage. So here we tail whip turn 1, and then we go into our struggle dealing 7 damage now. So this is a 4-hit KO. And maybe, just maybe, with a critical hit, we could actually get through now. So let's test this out, because I will reset for 1 crit in these sorts of battles. And if that's all it takes, then we could say that technically Cubone can beat Honest Abe. And sure enough, we get it right there. 4th attempt, we beat Honest Abe with our Cubone. So that's nuts. We actually managed to get through. I'm just going to give myself another berry. Sorry, I've given myself infinite berries here. And let's see if we can struggle down Rod, and then maybe we have a chance against Falkner. Let's just see. Sure enough, we get through Rod just fine. So we are to Falkner here. Still too low of a level to actually get access to Bone Club, but if you allow Struggle, which I did at this point in the game, you would be getting through at least to Falkner with this Cubone. I don't think I ever tested this back in the original Falkner Minimum Battle series, so this is incredibly interesting to me, at least, to see that Struggle strats do work here on Minimum Battles. And you could just find like a wild Jigglypuff or something to use up all your non-damaging PP against, so it would be pretty legitimate to get that. Alternatively, you could be just like running away from opponents and things like that. I mean, there's plenty of ways to use up the PP here since it's non-damaging. So we've made it to Falkner. Let's just test this with a berry one time to see, but of course, if this doesn't work out, we'll throw on the Ancient Power, which I think will be enough to get us through this one. So Falkner attempt number 1, he does 3 damage with his Pidgey when he tackles, and that seems to be the move that he wants to use, so we're going to be able to take this one down in 4 hits. That brings out the Pidgeotto. It goes Gust, dealing 6 damage. We're going to have to heal with the berry here, and it looks like this is going to be a much worse range, like a 6-hit range with the Struggle, so that's finally the point where I think we would run into a wall. Still, that's perfectly fine. Let's add on Ancient Power and then see if we can get the victory from there. So back to Falkner again, but this time with Ancient Power on the moveset. We can just use this move to get a 2-hit KO on the first Pidgey. Pidgeotto comes out. We will go for Ancient Power again, and this looks like a 3-hit KO. We will need to not miss anything here, but as long as we don't, we're going to be perfectly fine. We level up to level 9. We get Bone Club. We now actually have some moves, and we're ready to move on to the Bugsy section. Of course, Ancient Power will be very good against Bugsy. I'm mostly worried about the rival here, since Rival 2 is kind of a beast with that Bayleaf. We may need some luck there. We may even need to add on like an Elemental Punch or something in order to get through that fight. Of course, Elemental Punches would not normally be available here, but this is a member pick. Therefore, we could throw on an additional move if we absolutely need it in order to have some way to progress in the game. So now it's time to try out Bugsy attempt number 1 with our Cubone. And here I think we're going to be able to get through with the Ancient Power, and I came in without any PP. Here I'll try Headbutt this time just to see. It looks like it's going to be a 4-hit KO on the Metapod. Still, we managed to get through. We can try to take on the Kakuna, against whom we can also just Headbutt 4 times and get a pretty easy victory. So finally, we've got the Scyther, and this is where we would really want the Ancient Power for its 4 times super effectiveness. We can see that Headbutt looks like a 6-hit KO, and Fury Cutter will take us out before that. So let's run out and heal up very quickly and come back with the Ancient Powers. I think we basically stick with the Headbutts on the first 2 Cocoons and then save the Ancient Powers for the Scyther, since that's where it will be most effective. So coming back again to this one, we'll still stick with Headbutt here on the first Metapod. Even when it goes Harden, it's not like it's going to do much damage with Tackle, so we take it down nice and easy. Kakuna is out next. We get a nice critical hit there. Once again, Harden. Poison Sting won't do much, but we do get poisoned in this one, which isn't very good. Still, we level up to level 14 as the Scyther comes out. Let's go for the Ancient Power, and it does about half, so Fury Cutter's not going to build up enough. We do manage to get the victory and get to level 15. Now, however, I can look at our stats and immediately see a problem. We are not going to be faster than the Bayleaf, and I am quite certain that the Bayleaf is going to completely destroy me with its stab Razor Leaf. So the question is there any move that we could have that would actually help us against that Bayleaf? Well, we have access to Fire Punch, and we have access to Blizzard and Fire Blast. So theoretically, those moves could get us through if nothing else does. We might also need to go for something like a Quick Claw here to have a shot of actually getting through this. I'm going to try the first one with a berry though. Let's just see, maybe the rival just goes for something silly and gives us a chance. Let's see how this fight actually works out. So Rival 2 attempt number 1, we're going to go Bone Club against the Ghastly. That's an easy one-hit KO. Lick did basically nothing. Now against the Bayleaf, it goes Razor Leaf, and a critical hit one-shots me from at least pretty close to full health, so I think we're probably losing this one without some sort of extra setup. A non-critical hit Razor Leaf does just barely allow us to survive, but we can see that our Headbutt only did 10 damage here, and that's pretty much the best that we've got at this point. So it seems to me that we do in fact need a moveset upgrade if we're going to get through this one. So the move I'm going to try is Blizzard over the top of Tail Whip. There's nothing where we use Tail Whip where we would strictly have needed the move, so I think we'll be perfectly fine here. Blizzard is there because if we can survive and get a freeze, we might actually have a chance to win. Additionally, I'm going to give myself a Quick Claw here just to see if maybe that will work. The other thing, we could try to get an Omni Boost on the first Ghastly if we don't one-shot with an Ancient Power. Let's just test this out. Yeah, Ancient Power does not one-shot here, so if we can just get a single Omni Boost, we might actually be good here. So I'm going to just keep resetting until I get the Omni Boost, because it's pretty clear that this is going to be a 2-hit KO. So once we actually knock out the Ghastly, we wouldn't have a chance to get the Omni Boost that turn. My understanding is you can only get the Omni Boost on the turn that you don't knock the opponent out, but here we do get all the boosts. So now let's see if we can knock this Pokemon out. Sure enough, we do. Bayleaf comes out, but now we are faster. Let's try the Blizzard. We miss. However, we get a hit it this time, and the Omni Boost has us in a better range. So wait just a second, Quick Claw may not be necessary here. This might all be about the Omni Boost. Still, we can see Blizzard does about half, so we do need Blizzard, I think, in order to make this one work. So here we once again get the Omni Boost. We can knock that Pokemon out. Bayleaf comes out. We go Blizzard, dealing massive damage and getting the freeze. So a second Blizzard knocks that one out. We get to level 16 as the Zubat comes out. I'm just going to stick with Blizzard. We miss and get confused. Still, if we can just manage the hit, we should win. We're just repeatedly missing the move, but we finally do hit it and we get the victory. So turns out that you can get through there. You're going to need some Blizzard strats together with the Omni Boost in order to get it to go. Who knows, Headbutt strats might have worked there, but we'd still be looking at like a 5-hit KO there. So I think it's much better if you go for the Blizzard strat there. But then you can actually get through to this point with a Cubone. That is nuts. And with that, we're ready to move on to Whitney and see if we can manage a victory. Currently, I don't think there's any need to change our moveset, since worst case scenario, we're probably just going for the freeze on the Miltank here, but we'll test everything out just to see, because Dig strats could be a way to deal with the possibility of getting that rollout built up. I think she's going to go Stomp against us, but we'll just have to see. So with that done, we're ready to try our first attempt at Whitney. Let's see if we can manage the victory with our Cubone. Now, of course, she leads off with the Clefairy. I'm actually going to use Ancient Power here, once again hoping that I can get some sort of Omni Boost, but we get guillotined here and knocked out in a single hit. We're really hoping that we get better luck than that against this Pokemon. So here, when we get to the Miltank, it's almost certainly just going to Stomp against me because of the fact that that should be its strongest move. And we need to actually get some decent luck here against the Clefairy if we're going to get through this one. This time we get Rollout from the Miltank, which at least in theory gives me a chance, though we are slower and we would need quite a bit of stat boost to get to be faster than this Pokemon. So that makes me think that throwing on Dig instead of Bone Club is a good strategy. Essentially, we can use Dig to break up any rollouts that we get and use that as part of our strategy for getting through here. This time we managed to get through to the Miltank on full health. I'm going to try to use Blizzard here to freeze it, but once it starts setting up the rollout, I'm going to try to dig and go underground to break that up. We did get attracted here on the basis that we came in at full health. Here she's going to Milk Drink as well. She's pulling out all of the cheesy strategies, and unfortunately we get stomped down. That was about the best luck that we've gotten so far. We just couldn't get a freeze. still Dig looks like it's 3-hit KOing against the Clefairy, so that is clearly the best play there. And when we don't have full health going to the Miltank, it's much less likely to go for a track, so we can simply Dig to break up its rollouts and then try to freeze it with Blizzard. Unfortunately, we still got knocked out by a critical hit that time, but I think I see the basic strategy that's going to work here. This time we managed to freeze against the Miltank, so I'm just gonna go all in on attack here, hoping that it stays frozen. We just need one more hit and we get it. So it took several attempts there against Whitney, but we did ultimately manage to beat her, and with that we can move on in the game with Dr. Mystic 31's CuTip. We are making it now to the Morty section of the game, where the ground type should be perfectly fine for Morty himself. I have no worries about that. What I am worried about, of course, is the rival, who's coming up pretty quickly here. He's going to have some pretty dangerous Pokemon. I think we're going to need the Quick Claw so that we can dig against that first Haunter, and then we're probably going to need some luck against the Bayleaf as well. Still, we've got the Blizzard, so it might just work out. I expect that this Pokemon will need to go down to the Lighthouse to gain as many levels as possible though, so let's just get all these battles out of the way and then get to the rival. So now with everything that we possibly can beat done, we're ready to go and try our hand at the rival here. Let's just see if our moveset is enough. I think the Quick Claw is going to be the key though, so that hopefully we can outspeed the Haunter, and that will allow us to get the dig off first. I think that's the first win condition, is to not get cursed. Let's see how this goes. So here we get the Quick Claw activation on the first attempt. He misses Curse, and Dig does get the one-hit KO. Bayleaf comes out next, and we are still slower than this Pokemon. He goes Razor Leaf, doing about half. We hit the Blizzard, doing about half back. Then we get the Quick Claw though, so we do get through. Out comes the Zubat. We need to hit a Blizzard here. We're getting Bite. Still, we managed to hit a Blizzard and get the KO. That brings out the Magnemite. We go Dig, and that should end it. Yes. Oh, we beat the rival on the first attempt. Are you kidding me? That was insanely lucky. 2 perfect Quick Claw activations on the first 2 Pokemon. And I mean, I was a little nervous there. I thought we were going to get taken down by the Zubat, but we managed to get it to go. So, hey, if you've got the luck sometimes, hey, you just have to take it. Quick Claw did the job. Now we can get into Morty's gym, where I think we just spam Dig the whole way. Let's see how this goes. Now here we can learn Bone Meringue, which is less accurate, but I believe is stronger than Dig. So I'm actually going to throw this on over Headbutt. That will just give me more PP here. We could always relearn Headbutt later via TM, so I think this is the way to go. And with that, we've got yet another move to use here in this section of the game. So we've made it to Morty. Let's just see if we can manage to get through. I'm going to go in with the Quick Claw first, because I think if we can outspeed against the Gengar, we might be able to just take it down. But otherwise, we may look at the Mint Berry after this. Let's test this out. So Morty attempt number 1, I'm going for Dig on the first Ghastly. We can simply knock that Pokemon out. Fortunately, we got the Quick Claw there. Out comes the Haunter. It's faster no matter what we do, but it misses with the Hypnosis, and we knock it out with Bone Meringue. Second Haunter comes out, and Bone Meringue takes it out as well. Gengar comes out now, misses Hypnosis, and Bone Meringue does the job. We get to level 27, and just like that, Cubone goes from not even being able to beat the first gym to being able to get all the way to where we legitimately are in this challenge on minimum battles. It just needed a little help at the beginning with that ancient power, and technically you're going to need Blizzard in order to get through. You don't need the Quick Claw for Rival 2. That was something that I just threw on to test, but ultimately it was unnecessary. But now with all of this done, I think we need to go to the Rocket Hideout first. I think we need to get as many levels as we possibly can. Then I think we go Jasmine, then Chuck, then Pryce. That's my logic. We'll see if it actually works, but I'm going to at least try that route to start out here. For now, I don't think we make any moveset changes because I don't think we really need to. Bone Meringue is basically one of the strongest moves we could get on a ground type Pokemon at this point in the game, and we'd only really want to replace it with Earthquake later on. And here we sure enough managed to get through to the end of the Rocket Hideout with no issues. So let's just see how we do against the final executive with our Cubone. Here we've got the Arbok. I'm just going to go Bone Meringue on this Pokemon and easily knock it out. out. That brings out the Gloom next. Let's go for the Blizzard. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. I think we can dig from here to knock this one out. Sure enough, we can. We get to level 30 as the Murkrow comes out. I'll just go Ancient Power here. It's going to be a 2-hit KO, but we managed to get the victory on the first attempt with no real issues. Our Cubone wants to become Marowak. It wants to get super tough, but unfortunately, we're going to keep it as an itty-bitty cute little Cubone here and just see how it goes through the rest of this challenge. Man, if we could get a thick club on this Pokemon, we might be completely OP. Just saying. At least for this section of the game. I don't know, we might actually run into a wall in the next section, but we'll just have to see. For now, we have gotten through the Rocket Hideout. I'm going to make my way down to Jasmine because I think that's the best way to go with this, with our Bone Meringue. And then we'll check in on Chuck's gym and see if we can get through there before coming back to Pryce, just because we don't really have anything great currently on our moveset for the first 2 Pokemon on Pryce's team. I mean, technically, we don't have anything good for really any of them. I mean, on Dugong, yes, we can go Ancient Power and it's super effective, but everything else is going to be not great and they're going to do a lot of damage. So let's just skip that for now. So here we are, Jasmine attempt number 1. Let's see how she goes with our Cubone. Of course, she's going to lead off with the Magnemite. I'm going to go for the max accuracy here by going Dig. That's going to just be a guaranteed 1-hit KO. Steelix comes out next. Let's go for Bone Meringue. It didn't do quite as much as I expected. Even with one of them being a critical hit, it still only did about half. We take a lot of damage from the Iron Tail, so we may need some misses here in order to get through this. Still, we know the Magnemites don't pose any threat to us whatsoever. I'm going to try Blizzard because we could get a freeze here. Otherwise, we're just going to need a lot of accuracy luck to get through this. Technically, the chance to freeze is higher than the chance to get a critical hit, which is why I think it's worth it to go for that on the Steelix here. Because basically, if we get the freeze, I think we're basically guaranteed to win at that point. This time, she sends out the second Magnemite before the Steelix, so we knock it out. We're slightly above half health after the first Iron Tail and the second Iron Tail, so we can be in a 3-hit KO range here or a 2-hit KO range here. It just depends on the exact luck we get. This time we had her all the way down to 1 HP remaining. We just didn't get the range, otherwise we might have won that one. Here we get the freeze on the Steelix, so I'm just going all in on Bone Meringue here, hoping to knock it out. It stays frozen, and just like that, it took 10 attempts, but we did manage to beat Jasmine on minimum battles with our Cubone. And now we can move on to Chucky Boy's gym, where as long as we can get through the randos, we might just have a shot on the Poliwrath. We'll just have to see. So first things first, we've got to take on the Black Belt Bros. Bone Meringue does not quite get a 1-hit KO against the Hitmonlee. I'll just use Dig after that to guarantee that we get the victory. And that brings out the Hitmonchan next, where I think Bone Meringue, if it hits twice, should be good enough, but we get a critical hit Ice Punch and we lose. Let's try this one again. This time we get to the Hitmonchan with better HP and we just need to land the 2 hits, and sure enough we do manage it, so we get the victory on the second attempt there. Now we have to see if we can get through the rest of the randos and make our way to Chucky Boy himself. So sure enough, we have made it to Chuck. The question is, are we going to be able to survive a surf here? We're just going to have to see. We have the Quick Claw on just in case. Let's test this one out. So first up, we've got the Primeape, which is faster than me. It goes Fury Swipes. We go for Bone Meringue. We get a critical hit, so we get it down in a single turn. That brings out the Poliwrath, which is 4 points in speed faster than me. It goes Surf, and we get wrecked right there. Now, this could be another spot to try going for an Omni Boost, since we saw that we didn't quite get the one-hitter on the Primeape. So I'm going to just sit here and use some Ancient Powers trying to get an Omni Boost against this Pokemon, just because then we could go for a freeze on that Poliwrath, and it would be more likely than using the Quick Claw there. Okay, this time we do get an Omni Boost, so I'm just going to use Bone Meringue after that. And once we get to the Poliwrath, let's just see what kind of damage we do when we do hit. We did about half there. We get hit by Surf, but we survive thanks to the Omni Boost, and we simply win after that. So that is the strategy. Go for the Omni Boost on the first Primeape, and then use the boost in order to survive a Surf and take out the Poliwrath. And with that being done, we can now move on back to Pryce. And if we can find a way through this fight, we're basically good to go with our Cubone. Now, I can already say, looking at it, it looks like we're going to be slightly slower than the Dugong. So we are going to want to maybe get an Omni Boost here against the first Seal, and then we might have a chance here. So let's just test this out and see. So Pryce attempt number 1. I'm going Ancient Power here. We get Icy Wind, of course, which is not ideal because that leaves us even slower than the Seal. Still, we get to the Dugong on the first attempt. We get a nice Quick Claw, but we can see we did slightly less than half here, like maybe 35%. So I think we're going to need that Omni Boost to get the 2-hit KO there on that Pokemon. This time we at least get a better range as we go to the Dugong. Aurora Beam still does massive damage though. We get the Omni Boost right here and nearly get the KO, but we get knocked out ourselves. Unfortunately, we just couldn't get the luck to get it to go. Here we get the Omni Boost turn 1, and that should help us a lot. We're already going to be faster than Dugong here. We get a critical hit to one-shot that Pokemon. Piloswine comes out. We go Ancient Power first, getting another Omni Boost as it goes Mist. I'm going to go into the Bone Meringue now, and that gets me the victory. Are you kidding me? Oh, the Omni Boost shenanigans here with this Cubone are insane. Oh my goodness, Dr. Mystic, you beast. Absolutely awesome stuff. So with that, I'd just like to give a massive thank you to Dr. Mystic for being here already for 1 month. He has squashed the Bugsy problem. I need to update that. Not the bug problem, the Bugsy problem. And yeah, CuTip, the Cubone, is moving on in the game to the Claire section. Are you kidding me? Takes 2 moves. The Ancient Power, which you're going for lots of Omni Boosts and key spots, and Blizzard. Once you get those 2, technically this Pokemon becomes possible, and that is nuts. But hey, we'll take it. Thank you very much, Dr. Mystic 314, for coming and joining the channel membership. If you are a channel member and you have not made a pick yet, there will be a separate video posted for you guys, just updating you on some website updates, because there have been a lot to help you guys make your picks. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. Let's get back into the main action and see how we're doing so far. So coming back to the main view, we have made it to the pseudo-legendary Pokemon, and of course the uber best of the best. So let's just get through these in good time. I'm going to do Dragonite first, then Tyranitar, then we've got our Dragonair, assuming Dragonite gets through just fine, and we've got a member pick, Dratini, Littleworm, the Dratini. Let's just see how that one goes. Then we'll get into our kind of uber Pokemon, and we'll finish out with Mew and Celebi. Let's get this done. So coming in with our Dragonite, we are coming in with Twister, Dragon Rage, Thunder Wave, and Surf. A pretty good moveset all said. I think we want to avoid Pryce as much as we can though, so I'm going to go down to Chucky Boy's gym first. Let's see how that goes. If we can manage to get through there, I think we're going to be good to go in this section. I mean, the biggest issue that we have is that we have the highest attack stat effectively, but no physical attacking moves on the moveset right now. Of course, we can fix that with Fly when we get there. We can learn Headbutt. We'll be able to get Dynamic Punch in this section. So there are plenty of physical moves that we can learn, and it's not like our specials are, slouch stats for us here. It's just that they're just not quite as high as that attack stat, which we'd really like to use. Still, Dragon Rage should put in some pretty serious work here, so we shouldn't have too much issue getting through this section. Looks like we haven't even done the Lighthouse yet, so we'll get that out of the way as well as we make our way down to Chucky Boy. Still, I don't think there's any real reason for us to have the move Thunder Wave on this Pokemon, so I think we just go ahead and learn the move Headbutt here. so that we can deal as much damage as possible. So I'm forgetting Thunder Wave to learn Headbutt. I think it will help us here against the Black Belt bros in particular. Let's just see how this actually works out. So coming in here, we'll just Headbutt against the Hitmonlee, and it's an easy 2-hit KO right there. Granted, I guess we would get the same range with the Dragon Rage, just this strategy allows us to also flinch them. So we can really go with either here. It is probably just fine. Still, with the first trainer done, we can just get through the rest of these. We resist all of these fighting type moves, so we should be good to go in this section. And sure enough, we get the Chucky Boy just fine. We've got resistances to everything except normal type moves here, so I think we're going to be good to go, and we've got the Mint Berry just in case. So let's test this out. Of course, he wishes he could throw rocks like he just demonstrated to us, but unfortunately, we're just going to Dragon Rage here on the Primeape, getting an easy 2-hit KO. Out comes the Poliwrath next. This is going to be a 3-hitter with the Dragon Rage. He goes for Mind Reader. We're simply going to hit him again and wake up from the hypnosis with the Mint Berry. So he never had a chance there. We just 3-shot him and he was basically dead on arrival when we got here. Now we get to step out and get access to Fly, which is a same type move and physical, so I'm going to throw this on our Dragonite as well. The question is, do we want to keep Dragon Rage or Twister here? I think in most cases Dragon Rage isn't that strong at this point, so we're probably just as well off having Fly here, whereas Twister will at least power up with us as we gain levels. So it could be a mistake, but I do think we want Twister for Claire later on. I'm going to learn Fly over Dragon Rage. But now I'm going to go ahead and just take on the Rocket Hideout before I go and try Pryce or Jasmine. We could go Fire Punch against Jasmine if we really need to, but I will try my moveset as it is first and just see if we can manage a way to get through there. I do think, however, that we take on Jasmine before Pryce in this one because Pryce is actually a little scary when we've got a 4x weakness to Ice. And here we are in the Rocket Hideout, basically role-playing as Lance. But I think we're going to be able to get through just fine here. So let's just get straight to the final executive. Sure enough, we make it to the end with no issues whatsoever. So we'll just copy Lance by throwing out a Dragonite here to take on this final executive. I'm just going to Headbutt on the Arbok. It's an easy 2-hit KO. Out next comes the Murkrow. Let's just go for Fly here. It's going to be an easy 1-hit KO with that move. And Gloom will get more of the same. The Fly completely destroys it as we get to level 30. And with that done, we're down to just gym leaders. I'm going to go take on Jasmine first because I think Surf is going to be pretty good there. And then we'll come back and try our hand at Pryce. Now against Jasmine, if we do struggle to knock out the 2 Magnemites, I will throw on Fire Punch over the top of my Headbutt because I think that will be the best strategy there. And since we've already shown many times that effectively those elemental punches are infinite at this point in the game, you can change them in and out pretty easily without really too much struggle because you're going to have more than enough money for it. Still, I'll try to avoid that for now. Let's just see if we can get the victory with our current moveset. So Jasmine attempt number 1, I'm going Surf on the first Magnemite. It is not a 1-hit KO and we get paralyzed, so definitely not ideal. Still, we managed to get through to the Steelix. She goes Iron Tail and gets a critical hit, dealing massive damage, and we lose. So Fire Punch it is then. It's by far and away the simplest strategy to just throw that on over the Headbutt. Let's see how that does for us now, given that it will be super effective. So here against the Magnemite, we use Fire Punch, getting the 1-hit KO. That brings out the Steelix next. Surf is the stronger move. Here we do over half. She Iron Tails. We just Surf again and knock that Pokemon out. And that brings out the final Magnemite. We Fire Punch and get the very easy victory. So no problems there. We managed to get through on the second attempt. And that finally brings us to Pryce, where we're going to have to see how we do against his ice types. Thunder and Thunder Punch are options here as well, but again, we'd have to get rid of something else. I'm not sure what we would want to get rid of, but it might be worth putting Thunder Punch on over Fire Punch since we have access to Surf anyway for the final Piloswine. But the other argument is to go for the Dynamic Punch and use our stronger physical attack stat here in order to try to take these Pokemon down. I'm going to test with my moveset as it is first. Let's just see how this goes. But if it's not working, I might Dynamic Punch here to see if that's enough to take out the Dugong and Piloswine. So Pryce attempt number 1. Let's start off on Seal, where I'm just going to go for Fly here. Let's see how much damage we do. We get a 1-hit KO, so that's perfectly fine. Dugong comes out next. Let's go for Fly here as well. We do over half. We get a massive Aurora Beam, but we do get to knock the Pokemon out after that. That brings out the Piloswine. Surf is the strongest move here. Let's just see how much damage it does. It survives, and we get hit by Blizzard. So we're going to need at least one miss from Blizzard, but that's a 30% chance. That's really not too bad. So I'm just going for that strategy right here. Let's see if we can get the Blizzard miss. We get a Blizzard miss this time. He Hyper Potions, but that's not going to be enough. We even get the crit to just finish him off. So just like that, we do manage to get through with our Dragonite, and we're ready to move on to Claire. Of course, she's got access to a little bit of Ice type coverage, and she's got the Dragon type, which is super effective against our Dragon type. So we're going to have to see how that actually goes when we get there, particularly because we wouldn't get to Outrage until level 61. So we're not going to get a stronger move until much later in the game, though we do get access to Ice type moves. So we have some advantages there, some disadvantages. We'll just have to see how it actually works out. For now though, this one moves on. Let's check in on Tyranitar. So Tyranitar is coming here with Bite, Dig, Rock Slide, and Screech. Now, I'm worried about Chuck's gym here in particular, though we have to be worried about Jasmine as well. So I think we go to Pryce first and take advantage of our Stab Rock moves in order to try to get through that one. This is another Pokemon that does not seem to have gone to the Lighthouse, so we'll also take on that section while we're here. Now, of course, Tyranitar completely destroys the Rocket Hideout, so we'll show Lance another pseudo-legendary here as we take on the Rocket Executive at the end. I'm just going to go Dig right here against the Arbok. It is an easy 1-hit KO. Gloom comes out next. I'll go Rock Slide on this one, getting a 1-hitter as well. And that brings out Murkrow, more Rock Slide, easy victory as we get to level 28 right here. So with that, we are done and we're ready to go take on Pryce with our Stab Rock Slide. I think it's going to be enough to get through there. And hopefully we can use the extra boost that we get plus the extra XP to actually get through Jasmine and Chuck. I think we go to Jasmine next since we've got Dig for the Magnemites, and we may be able to use Screech plus Dig in order to get through that Steelix. We'll just have to see. Otherwise, we can learn some special moves as well, and that may be a strategy if we get desperate. But first things first, let's try Pryce and just see how he actually goes. So Pryce attempt number 1, I'm going to lead off with the Rock Slide on the first Seal. We just barely missed getting the 1-hitter. We'll just bite that Pokemon down from there. Piloswine comes out next. At least Rock Slide is neutrally effective here. The speed drop does mean that we're slower, though we do have the Quick Claw on, but we didn't quite get a 2-hit KO. So I'm going to actually try to Screech here. Oh, that's right. He has Mist on. So I'm actually going to have to try to deal some damage normally here. Still, this is going to be a pretty easy 3-hit KO, and we'll just bite that one down. That brings out the final Dugong. We hit the Rock Slide and get the 1-hit KO. So sure enough, we managed the victory even with the little bit of bad play. And now we get to learn the move Thrash. The question is, do we want to learn this move or could we get something better? For now, I'm going to skip Thrash because we could always learn a move like Return later on that will be stronger and not confuse us. So I think that's going to be the better way to go. Still, with that done, now let's make our way over to Jasmine and just see if we can manage to get through there, because I think we absolutely need to keep Dig for this fight in particular, and Screech is the other move that I just don't think we can really forget because we're probably going to want to use it on Steelix. So here, let's try our hand at Jasmine instead and just see how she actually goes in this fight. Jasmine attempt number 1, I'm going to go Dig on the first of the Magnemites. That's going to be an easy 1-hit KO. Steelix comes out next. I go Screech turn 1. The Iron Tail did massive damage, but now let's go Dig, and that is doing about 40% after the Screech. So really not great. We may need a lot of luck here to get this one to actually work out. Here we get an Iron Tail miss. I tried to go for a second Screech because of that, but honestly, we're we're going to need either a critical hit after the Screech, or we're going to need a couple misses from the Iron Tail. Iron Tail does have a 25% chance to miss, so I do think it's worthwhile to reset here, try to get 2 Screeches off, and then see if that allows us to get the ranges that we need. I'm pretty sure there's no point in using a Goldberry here or something, because we would simply get knocked out anyway. Still, after quite a few attempts, it doesn't seem to be working, so I think we go down to Chucky Boy's gym, just see if we can manage to at least get through something here. I think we might want to forget Bite to learn a move like Headbutt so that we have something neutral. We could always learn a stronger Dark type move later on. So here against the Black Belt Bros, let's try Headbutt strats. It's going to be a 2-hitter on the Hitmonlee, and we take massive damage from the double kick. Still, we can get to the Hitmonchan at least, and maybe, just maybe, we can manage a flinch here or something. Instead, we get a Thunder Punch that paralyzes us, but that's enough to actually allow us to win since it just Thunder Punched twice. We'll take it. With that, we're able to now move on in the gym where we've got to worry about the karate chops and things like that. Not sure how great this is going to be, but at least we might be able to gain 1 more level. So ultimately, we do make it to Chuck. Let's just try our hand at him one time, obviously knowing that he's going to want to go Dynamic Punch and deal massive damage to us, but we might be able to just outspeed here and just flinch with a bunch of headbutts. So that's going to be my strategy. I'm going to put on the Mint Berry in case he goes for the Hypnosis here, but let's just see. So Chucky Boy attempt number 1 on the Primeape. Let's just go Headbutt. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. He misses a Leer. That's perfectly fine. That brings out the Poliwrath. Next, we'll go Headbutt here. He misses Dynamic Punch. We Headbutt again. He misses another Dynamic Punch. And that just allows us to get the victory, and we're very close to getting to level 31. So that is definitely helping us out here. We can get access to Fly and just make our way back to Jasmine now, but we have to beat her if we're going to get through this section. Chuck has the thing where he loves to just punt on fights, but Jasmine, she goes hard, so we're gonna just have to see if we can get it to go or not. I think if we get desperate, we end up with something like Fire Punch or Surf for that Steelix, but I'm gonna try to go with this moveset first. Otherwise, we'll replace our Headbutt with something like Fire Punch first, just to see if it works, and then finally go for the Surf if nothing else works here. So back to Jasmine at this level, we will stick with Dig on the first Magnemite. That's the obvious play. We get the nice easy victory. Steelix comes out again. Let's Screech. We get hit by the Iron Tail. We have a little bit better HP, but let's see what we do with Dig now. We get a critical hit one-shot, so clearly that made a difference getting the extra levels there, and now we can just dig on the final Magnemite to get through with our Tyranitar. It wasn't pretty necessarily, but definitely possible to get through, and Tyranitar moves on to the next section. I'm not sure how this Pokemon's gonna do when it gets to Claire, but we'll just have to see. For now, it's progressing in the game, and that is another pseudo-legendary through. It's time to step down now in the Dragonite line to Dragonair and see if it can match what its evolved form did. So Dragonair comes in knowing Dragon Rage, Surf, Twister, and Headbutt, pretty much what we were just running with our Dragonite. The big difference here is that we don't really have any type resistances or type weaknesses in this section, other than Pryce, which is only a 2x type weakness, so we should have a better chance of getting through there, though we have lower stats to boot, so who knows how this is actually going to work out. Still, I think I'm going to go down to Chucky Boy's gym first. I think this might be the best way to progress in the game. First up, we'll take on the Black Belt Bros. We've already got access to Dragon Rage and Headbutt, but we know Dragon Rage is a 2-hitter here, so we'll just spam that move in order to knock out the Hitmonlee. That brings out the Hitmonchan. If it doesn't go for Ice Punch, we're perfectly fine here, and it Ice Punches, and we still survive a critical hit, so we get through just fine. And with that, I think we're good against the rest of these randos. Let's make our way to Chucky Boy himself. So Chuck attempt number 1 against the Primeape. We know it's going to be a 2-hit KO with the Dragon Rage no matter what, so I'm just going for that right here off of the bat. Now against the Poliwrath, it's at least going to be a 3-hit KO, so let's Headbutt here. He takes aim with his Mind Reader. We get a flinch though, so we managed to stop him on that first hit at least. He hits Dynamic Punch after that, and we knock ourselves out in confusion. Still, we should have a shot here of getting through, I think. This time we get back to the Poliwrath. Let's just try this again with the headbutt. He goes Hypnosis. I should have put on the Mint Berry here. Clear mistake on that. So let's just rectify that very quickly before we come back into this fight. This time he goes for a Dynamic Punch, but he was on too low health, so we simply knocked him out. So it took a few attempts there, but it's really not that bad to get through Chucky Boy with this Dragonair, and we're ready to move on in the game. Now, one of the big issues that we have with this Pokemon is that we do not get access to things like elemental punches, so we're gonna have to find a different strategy for getting through Jasmine in particular. So I'm gonna put her off for now. I'm going to go ahead and try to make my way over to Pryce instead. Now, sure enough, Dragonair gets through the entire Rocket Hideout nice and easy, so we can come and take on the final executive here, where we're running a little low on PP. So I'm gonna go for Dragon Rage here on the first Arbok. It's an easy 2-hit KO. Murkrow comes out next. Let's go for the headbutt here. It's going to be a 2-hitter on that Pokemon. Gloom is out third. I guess Dragon Rage will get the 2-hitter. She just drops acid anyway, so we get through nice and easy. And with that, we're ready to move on in the game. So let's just see how this actually goes as we get these electrodes and try our first shot at Pryce. So Pryce attempt number 1 right here. Let's go for the headbutt on the first seal. It's going to be a 2-hitter and we get a nice flinch, so that's perfectly fine. Dugong comes out next. We go headbutt, getting the flinch. Let's headbutt it again. It's just a little too much HP remaining for us to go for the Dragon Rage. Still, we can knock it out after that. That brings out Piloswine. I'll go Surf, and this is going to be a 2-hit KO. We would just need a simple miss there in order to get through. Now, of course, if we get the speed drop from the first seal, then we're slower than Dugong and we're basically guaranteed to lose. So we do need a little bit of luck here on this first Pokemon. This time we get to the final Piloswine with better HP though, so let's go for Surf. We don't get a critical hit unfortunately, and we just get knocked out from there. This time we get the Blizzard Mist that we needed though, so we finally beat Pryce on the 9th attempt there, and it's just that simple. You just need that 30% chance to miss, and you need the flinch on the very first seal, or for it not to get the speed drop at least with the Icy Wind, and you're good to go. Still, the fact that we're not dealing that much damage with Surf makes me really nervous as we come into Jasmine here, because we're not going to have a whole lot of great moves. We could throw on something like Rain Dance here in order to have a shot, but otherwise it's Fire Blast strats in order to get this one to go. It should be noted that we can set up Rain Dance turn 1, given the fact that we could just have a Paralyzed Cure Berry on. I'm pretty sure that Jasmine's going to go for the Thunder Wave turn 1. So that could be the strategy to actually progress here. Still, I'll test this out one time just to see. Let's put on the Paralyzed Cure Berry as well and just see if this is possible or not. So Jasmine attempt number 1 right here. Let's go for Surf on the first Magnemite. And sure enough, it's nowhere close to being a 1-hit KO. So we're going to have to knock it out after that. That brings out the second Magnemite, which we can go Surf. But again, it's not a 1-hitter, but it misses the Thunder Wave. So we do manage to get through to the Steelix here. We'll go Surf. That's going to do over half. It goes Iron Tail, dealing pretty significant damage, but we actually get a knock it out on the first attempt. Okay, well, no need for Rain Dance strats. I mean, it would have certainly made that easier, but we got through on the first attempt either way, and Dragonair moves on in this challenge. So now we just have to see how our Dratini does as a member pick Pokemon. Will it be able to get through this section? So it is time for channel member Darlax97 and Littleworm, the Dratini that's running Hidden Power Dark, Twister, Dragon Rage, and Hydro Pump at this point. We'll have to see if Hydro Pump is enough for that Jasmine fight later on, but I think we use the same basic routing that we just had. Hidden Power Dark, I think, is going to have to go pretty quickly here, because I think Headbutt is going to be a much better move, or going for Return even could be a strategy. For now, though, I'm going to throw on the Headbutt over the Hidden Power Dark, because I think that is going to be our best play. So here I decided to come to the Rocket Hideout first, and while that wasn't terrible, the executive in the basement caused multiple resets for this Dratini, we might actually need to go return strats here because Headbutt just wasn't doing enough damage, nor was Hydro Pump. So yeah, it was actually kind of bad. We might need to keep Dragon Rage for quite a while here. Still, we've made it to the final executive where on this one, Dragon Rage will two-shot against the Arbok. So I'm just going to go with that strategy, getting an easy victory on that Pokemon. Murkrow comes out next. I'll go for Headbutt here just to see if we can get enough damage. When it's down below 40 HP, I'll just go for the Dragon Rage after that. And that brings out the final Gloom where we can go for the Dragon Rage. It uses Acid, but that means we will get the victory as we get to level 28. The big issue for this Pokemon is clearly that its stats are just so much lower than its evolved form. And on top of that, it's in the slow level up group, so it's just not going to gain very many levels here. We're going to really have to see if we can manage to get through or not. I think we go down to Chuck's gym after this and see if we can manage a victory there, and then go back to possibly Jasmine before Pryce, because I'm not too confident we're going to get through Pryce at this point. And this could be a Pokemon that ends up going for things like Thunder and Fire Blast to get through this section. Still, first things first, let's take on the Black Belt Bros and just see if we can manage to headbutt our way through them. If we can get that to work, then Darlax might just be able to get a gym badge here and start getting some momentum. So first up, we've of course got the Black Belt Bros. I'm going to go for Headbutt here just to see how much damage it does. It does enough to get us in the range to use Dragon Rage, but then we get Jump Kick down. So I think we need a Quick Claw here if we're going to get through this one. And here we really need the Quick Claw to activate turn 2 in order to get through this. Here we finally get it, so we will get a chance to fight against the Hitmonchan. And here for this Pokemon, we are faster, so we can go Headbutt right off the bat here. It's not quite enough to get it in the range for Dragon Rage, but 2 Headbutts, and it just went for Fire Punch twice, means that we do get through. Still, it's not pretty. We're going to have to see about the rest of these Pokemon in here. This could still prove to be pretty difficult. So we do manage to get through to Chucky Boy. It wasn't super pretty, but we got the job done. Now the question is, can we deal enough damage to get through this fight? We're just gonna have to see, because we don't have a lot of speed, so it's definitely gonna be right on the borderline of possible or not possible, but I'm gonna test it anyway. Let's just find out if we get the victory or not. So Chuck attempt number 1, I'm going to Headbutt on the first Primeape. We even get the flinch with the Quick Claw there. Karate Chop with a critical hit does massive damage though, so we simply go down in 2 hits. Let's try this one again. This time he goes Leer against us. Now we get a flinch with a Quick Claw activation, and we knock that Pokemon out. Now we are actually faster than the Poliwrath, so I can go Headbutt here. It misses the first Dynamic Punch. It's on exactly 80 HP. I'm hoping it goes Dynamic Punch there. It does, and it misses, and that allows me to get the victory on this second attempt. Oh, come on. Oh, Chuck, he doesn't even want to win against this Dratini. That allows us to get the victory, and now we have to either take on Jasmine or we have to take on Pryce. This is nerve-wracking. I think we might need to upgrade our moves even more than what we've already done, but I'm going to go try Jasmine first. I'm going to try Jasmine with the moveset that I currently have, and then if it doesn't work, we'll go for the Rain Dance strat to see if Rain Dance plus Hydro Pump is enough. This could be really sus, but I'm at least going to try it because I think that's our best shot of getting through here. So Jasmine attempt number 1. Let's see if we can one-shot with Hydro Pump here or not. Not even close. It goes Thunderbolt against us though, and that does allow us to knock out the first Magnemite. So that makes me think if we did have access to Rain Dance, we might just have a shot here. We even get to the Steelix, and we did about half with the Hydro Pump. So if we just go for Rain Dance here over Headbutt, I think we're going to have this one. So here, let's just try this one again. Turn 1, I'm going to set up Rain Dance. We get Thunder Waved, but we can heal with the Paralyzed Cure Berry. Now we hit the Hydro Pump and get the 1-hit KO. Second Magnemite comes out, and we do not quite get the range, but we can knock it out with a Dragon Rage after that. That brings out the Steelix. The rain is continuing to fall. It misses with the Iron Tail. she hyper potions, and now we go for the hydro pump again, and that does allow us to get the victory. So Rain Dance plus hydro pump strats is enough to get through Jasmine there. Now we have to get through Pryce though with a weakness to the ice type, and here we might just need to go for something like Thunder in order to make this work. Of course, Rain Dance plus Thunder strats is a real strategy that we could use since it would guarantee that we would get the hits. And we might still need a Quick Claw here if we get any speed drops. So I'm honestly not sure what the best way to go here is going to be, but I think I'm going to forget Dragon Rage in order to learn Thunder. Let's test this and see if it's possible or not. So turn 1, I'm going to set up Rain Dance against Pryce's Seal. He goes for the Icy Wind. He gets the speed drop. Nothing I can do about that. But now we hit Thunder, and it's not even a one-hit KO on this Pokemon. And that probably tells us all that we need to know, that we're just simply not going to be able to get this one to work. Now, we could go for a critical hit here with Thunder on the first Seal, hoping to take it down before it gets the speed drop. But that's really all that I can think of, is trying to get the crit so that we can actually outspeed after this. Here, this time we didn't get the speed drop at least, so we can go Twister and knock that Pokemon out. That will bring out the Dugong, which is slower than us. We hit Thunder. It hits Aurora Beam, doing massive damage. We hit Thunder again, knocking it out. That brings out the Piloswine, and we missed with the Hydro Pump, so we didn't even get to see the range. I'm not sure it would have one-shot there, though, so yeah. Take that for what you will. This time we get Paralysis on the Seal with the first Thunder, so I'm going to Rain Dance right here as it goes Rest, since that will at least guarantee that we're going to hit the Thunder after this. We have no speed drop yet again, so we'll just knock it out. That brings out Dugong next, so we're guaranteed to hit here. We continue to hit. Very nice. Now Piloswine, the rain stops. We use the Hydro Pump. It does about half. We would need a miss there to get through. Back to Piloswine again. This time we get the miss and we hit the second Hydro Pump. So we actually do win in 6 attempts there against Pryce. It wasn't pretty, but we did get it to go, and it's all about that 30% chance for him to miss. You basically go Rain Dance, hoping not to get a speed drop from Icy Wind from the first Pokemon. But once you get it, you can technically get through that fight. I'm not sure how far this Dratini is actually going to go. It will gain a lot of levels as it goes through the next section and the Rocket storyline. We can add on Blizzard as a strategy against Flare's gym, but after that, I'm just not sure if we're getting any further. We'll just have to see. For now, Darlax, I want to say a massive thank you. Already here for 14 months, so Darlax97 has knocked out Chuck multiple times at this point. I cannot thank you enough for your support for over a year, and let's just keep this one running up. I'm really excited to see how this one goes, but I'm a little nervous that Littleworm isn't going to make it to the very end. We'll just have to see. I'll do my best. Anyway, thank you for your support. And with that, let's get back to the action. And as we come back to our main view here, just one last time, I want to give a massive thank you to the 34 members who have made member picks. There are quite a few members who haven't made any member picks yet, so make sure that you get them in, because I would love to get them into the action here as well. And for some reason, Dragonair is showing in the fail column. We'll get that updated. That Pokemon needs to be up there in the pass column. But we've made it to the final 5 Pokemon, and let's just get through all of these. I'm going to lead off with Lugia and Ho-Oh, because they actually have a little bit more challenge here, I think. Mewtwo, I think, is going to crush everything. And then Mew and Celebi. Celebi might be the hardest of the remaining Pokemon. We'll just have to see how this goes. But I'm going to lead off with Lugia. And here Lugia is coming in knowing Aeroblast, Mud Slap, Gust, and Safeguard. And I think we're going to need some moveset upgrades pretty quickly here. The fact that this Pokemon learns Surf is kind of hilarious to me, and that may be one of our strategies to get through. We'll also get Stab Fly in this section, though I don't know, we may just stick with Aeroblast at that point. For now, I think our best play is to go down to Chucky Boy's gym, because we have a massive resistance against his fighting type moves, and I think that's going to be enough to get us through this section. So first things first, let's go ahead and take on the Black Belt Bros, where I'm just going to go Aeroblast here in one shot against that Hitmonlee. Out comes the Hitmonchan next. I think we just go with the same, getting another easy one-hit KO. So we should just sweep through all of these trainers. Let's make our way straight to Chucky Boy. And sure enough, we get to Chuck, so let's see if we can just Aeroblast him down. Chuck attempt number 1, he leads off with the Primeape. We go Aeroblast, getting the easy one-hit KO. That brings out Poliwrath second. We go Aeroblast. It's not quite a one-hitter. It just goes Surf, though. We can even go Gust from here. It just kind of adds insult to injury. Just the super weak Gust is more than enough to finish that one off. And we have defeated Chucky Boy on the first attempt. Now with that out of the way, I'm going to just teach Kenya to fly. I'll avoid fly for now with my Lugia and instead make my way over to the Rocket Hideout, where we should have more than enough moves to just get through this section nice and easy. And then let's just see how we do against these last two gym leaders. I think that we do want to upgrade our moveset slightly because there's not really a good reason for us to keep Gust on the moveset. I was keeping it for a little extra PP in that last gym, but honestly, Gust is so weak relative to Aeroblast that I just don't see any reason why we would want to use it. So something like Headbutt or Surf makes a lot more sense here. In fact, Surf might be the play since it gives us something to use against those steel types. With that, I think we have enough coverage to get through this section without needing to run out and heal too often. And sure enough, we get through the Rocket Hideout with no issues whatsoever. So let's just go ahead and take on the final executive. She's going to lead off with her Arbok. I'm just going to go Surf right here. It should be a nice easy 2-hit KO on this Pokemon, and it just goes for Wrap, which is no issue for us whatsoever. Murkrow comes out next. I'm just going to stick with Surf here because I'm running low on PP, and that's going to be an easy 2-hitter as well. Finally, we get the Gloom. We can go Aeroblast just to finish it off in a single hit, getting us to level 30 as we get through that executive. And with that, we can now make our way to some gym leaders. We've got the Surf, so I think that's the way to go against Jasmine. And let's just see if we can get through her first, since we aren't really dealing with any major weaknesses there, as long as we can simply knock out those Magnemites. So Jasmine attempt number 1. Let's see what Surf does here against the first Magnemite. It is not a one-hit KO and we get paralyzed, and then Thunderbolt does pretty decent damage. So we're going to have to adjust our strategy a little bit right here. It may be worth going for the safeguard in this one. Now we can even go Mud Slap. And while yes, we're going to take some decent damage here from the Thunderbolt, at least we can possibly get a miss. After we take those two down, we can now go to the Steelix where we just go for Surf. It's going to be a 2-hit KO, so we would just need a single miss there in order to get the victory. Of course, in that case, we may be just as good coming in with a Paralyzed Cure Berry, since we can just go Mud Slap strats here to try to get through the two Magnemites. In this case, we just need one of the two to actually miss, and then we should be perfectly good to go for the Steelix. This time we get that level of luck, so we're to the Steelix on full health. We go Surf, it does over half, it misses the Iron Tail, and then we just get the very easy victory after that. So that's clearly the strategy that we needed, and with that done, we're able to move on in the game. Now we can learn Thunder if we really want to here in this section. I'm not sure if that's going to be the best strategy though, so I'm going to just go in with my moveset as is first. Let's see how we do against Pryce with our Lugia. So Pryce attempt number 1, I'm going to go Aeroblast on the first seal. We get the 1-hit KO there, getting to level 31. Dugong comes out, we go Aeroblast again. This is going to be a 2-hit KO, and we've got more than enough special defense to get through that Pokemon. That brings out the Piloswine where we go for Surf. It's going to be a 2-hitter. Blizzard does decent damage, but the real issue is that he gets the freeze. If he didn't freeze us, we survived 2 blizzards there, so we would have won. That was just bad luck. Let's try this one again. So once again, back to the Piloswine, we go for Surf. It misses the Blizzard this time, and now it doesn't matter. He can Hyper Potion all he wants. He's still going to lose to our Lugia. So we beat Pryce on the second attempt. Still, Pryce gets a little redemption. He gets to say, I beat a legendary Pokemon, which is something that he doesn't usually get to say. So, hey, we'll give just a little respect on Pryce's name, but we're through that. Let's move on to Ho-Oh. And here Ho-Oh is coming in with Sacred Fire, Mudslap, Gust, and Safeguard. I think this is another Pokemon that we could definitely go to Chuck first with, though Jasmine is probably the easiest with our Stab Sacred Fire. We're probably going to get through that just fine. We don't really have a whole lot to worry about other than maybe Chuck's Poliwrath, but even then I think we're going to be able to get through. So let's just make our way through the lighthouse and get down to Chucky Boy's gym, where at least Gust should do pretty decent damage against everything. And provided that that works out, we'll just make our way through that gym and try Chuck one time, but otherwise come back to face Jasmine. So first up, we've got to take out the Black Belt Bros, of course. I'm just going to go Gust here. Even Gust just one-shots against the Hitmonlee. That will bring out Hitmonchan second, where we can go for Gust again here. It's going to be a two-hitter. It goes Ice Punch though, and that means nothing to me as I easily get through. So I think we're going to crush the rest of these guys, though we do have to watch out for this second Black Belt since he does have a Machoke that knows Rock Slide. Still, as long as we get through that, we're basically good to go here, and he doesn't even go for it. He goes for Seismic Toss, so we're going to be able to make our way through to the gym leader nice and easy. So Chuck attempt number one with our Ho-Oh. He's going to lead off with the Primeape. We go for Gust and nearly get the one-hit KO. Still, it's a two-hitter, so no issue there. We go Gust on Poliwrath, doing about 40%. It goes Mind Reader. Then it actually misses Hypnosis after the Mind Reader, and we win. Oh, that was just so easy to get that three-hit KO because he didn't even use his move properly. Come on, you're supposed to read my mind and know exactly where to attack. Nope, he didn't even stand a chance. Now with that done, we can learn Fly. I'm actually going to learn Fly over the move Gust for now because it is a stronger same type move. A move deleter is upcoming, so we will be able to replace this with something else if we really want to later on. But for now, this is going to be my strategy. Let's get that Fly on there so that we have a stronger move to use against Pryce. After that, though, I'm going to go ahead and get back to Jasmine, and let's just see how she likes a little bit of Sacred Fire. So Jasmine attempt number one, I'm just going to put Sacred Fire in the top slot, and it's going to be enough to one-shot the first Magnemite. Second Magnemite also gets completely wrecked as we get to level 28. Steelix comes out, we go Sacred Fire, and it's just barely not a one-hit KO, and it critical hits with a Rock Throw to knock me out. Oh, that was ridiculous. Let's try this again, because this is clearly going to be a victory. This time we missed one Sacred Fire, but that's perfectly fine. As long as we hit the remainder, we will be able to win here. And this time we don't even need two hits. It's a one-hit KO against the Steelix, so it's clearly a range there. And we managed to beat Jasmine on the second attempt. And I mean, come on, getting that critical hit was super lucky there. So that definitely wasn't that bad. And with that, we can now make our way to Pryce. Let's just see how he likes the mixture of our Fly and our Sacred Fire against his Ice-type Pokemon. Before that, though, we do have to stunt on one of these Rocket executives here in the Rocket Hideout, so let's just see how she likes Sacred Fire as we come in against the Arbok. Sacred Fire is a one-hit KO. Murkrow comes out next. It gets more of the same, and now for the Gloom, it's just gonna get a third hit. You know, 3 shots, 3 KOs. That's all you need with this Pokemon. It's far too powerful for this section of the game. Clearly why it was the first legendary actually shown in the anime. And just like that, we managed to get through this section, so let's just go quickly take out Pryce, and then we should be good to go for this Pokemon. So Pryce attempt number one, he leads off with Seal. I'm just going to Fly right here. We missed the first Fly. That's actually kind of bad. But after that, we do get the one-hit KO. We get to level 31 as Dugong comes out. We'll Fly again, doing about half here. It can go Rest if it wants to, but it doesn't. So we get through just fine. And now Sacred Fire on the Piloswine is a one-hit KO. So Pryce never had a chance in that battle as Ho-Oh completely destroyed him. Kind of to be expected, but we got through better than Lugia. So Ho-Oh clearly better than Lugia. Play gold version, not silver version. That is the answer for this. But now it is time to get to the true, arguably strongest Pokemon, even in this generation. Let's get to our Mewtwo. And Mewtwo comes in here with Confusion, Disable, Barrier, and Headbutt. Obviously, it can learn all of the elemental punches here, which is probably all that it needs. But we're going to go down to Chucky Boy's gym first, because I just think that's the most logical play to get through, gain some levels, and then we can just add on, what, like Fire Punch for Jasmine, and then we can go like Fire Punch plus Thunder Punch for Pryce, and we're going to be perfectly good to go in this section of the game. So first up, let's take on the Black Belt Bros here with our Mewtwo. I'm just going Confusion on the first Hitmonlee. It's going to be a 2-hit KO, but nice easy victory there, as it really couldn't do anything back to us. That brings out the Hitmonchan, where we'll just stick with the same, another 2-hitter. It goes Ice Punch and freezes me, but then it defrosts me with the Fire Punch. Oh, come on. The Black Belt Bros, they know that Mewtwo's too powerful. They knew I was going to thaw out eventually, so they just kind of punted on that. Still, we can make our way through the rest of these trainers here and make our way straight to Chucky Boy. Let's see how this goes. So Chuck attempt number 1 right here. He's clearly wanting to be like Ash Ketchum and punch Mewtwo, only to get turned to stone. Here we get an easy 2-hit KO on the first Primeape. He comes out with the Poliwrath next. We do half with our first Confusion. He can't use Hypnosis on a Mewtwo. We easily knock him out on the first attempt. So Chuck, he just never stood a chance there. He gets completely wrecked, as we have completely dominated his gym with our Mewtwo. And that just shows why the Fighting Dojo in Gen 1 was not getting much respect. I mean, when you got this Mewtwo flying around everywhere, being the actual boss of the region, there's no way that you can have a fighting type gym and get any sort of respect. So now with that, I think we just go straight to Jasmine and just throw on Fire Punch and completely dominate her as well. Let's just show her that she has no chance against the strongest Pokemon alive. So here for Mewtwo, I'm just going to throw on Fire Punch over Disable, since I really don't think we need Disable strats. Let's just see how this goes. So Jasmine leads off with her Magnemite. We Fire Punch it, getting the easy 1-hit KO victory. Magnemite number 2 comes out and gets completely destroyed. We level up to level 28 as Steelix comes out. Fire Punch is going to be a 2-hit KO. It goes for the Iron Tail. It gets a critical hit. Does not matter. Mewtwo still destroys her on the first attempt. She tried to cheese hard there with that critical hit, and it still did not have enough power to take down this Pokemon. So just like that, we are ready to now move on in the game, where it's just time to go ahead and take on the Rocket Hideout and Pryce. This should be super easy with Mewtwo, so let's just get through it nice and quick. And here, frankly, Mewtwo doesn't need the move Barrier, so I'm just going to replace it with Thunder Punch right now, give ourselves all the coverage, and we should be good to go through this section. And sure enough, we get through this whole section nice and easy to the final executive. She wants to get Mewtwo back for her boss, but we just one-shot the first Arbok. Now we can just Thunder Punch on the Murkrow, and we can go back to Fire Punch or Confusion on the Gloom. It really doesn't matter. It's a 1-hit KO either way. So Mewtwo completely dominates that section, and we're ready to go to Pryce, who I don't think stands a single chance here unless he gets a lucky freeze. That is the only possible way we lose. Otherwise, we've got all the moves we need, I think, to completely destroy his gym. So Pryce attempt number 1, he leads off with the Seal. I'm just going Thunder Punch here. That's an easy 1-hit KO. Out next comes the Dugong. We stick with the Thunder Punch. It's going to be a 2-hitter, but Aurora Beam does nothing to us. That brings out the Piloswine, where we can go for the Fire Punch, and it's a 1-hit KO with a crit. So Pryce never had a chance there. And Mewtwo just has all the moves. Like, that's the whole point of this Pokemon. It doesn't have the moveset of, say, a Mew, but it has all the moves exactly where it needs it. With that massive special attack stat, there's just nothing that can stand up to that. Plus the speed. I'm pretty sure this Pokemon's going to go all the way pretty easily, but we'll just have to see. For now, Mewtwo gets through, and we're to our final 2 challengers. It's time for Mew and Celebi. Let's lead off with our Mew and then end off with the final Pokemon in the Gen 2 Pokedex. And Mew is coming into this section with Rollout, Surf, Fire Punch, and Mud Slap. More than enough, I think, for this entire section. Who knows, we might want to get a different move time, but I think with this current moveset, our best play is to go to good old Pryce first, just because we have so many moves to take him out with that I think this is going to be pretty easy. Let's just see how this goes. We also have the massive advantage on the other legendaries that we are in the medium slow level up group, so we will be able to get a lot more levels here, and therefore our stats should go up quite a bit as we go through this section. And sure enough, Mew makes it to the end of this section with no issues, and it's time for Mew to just demonstrate the good old rollout strats that we know are completely OP. We 3-hit KO there on the Arbok, but then we destroy the Murkrow, out comes the Gloom, and we get a 1-hit KO there as well. So Mew never had any issues getting through that fight, and now I'm just gonna go take on Pryce, because with rollout, I think we're more than good enough to get through that fight. I'm pretty sure that even if he gets a speed drop on us, we're still going to be faster than all of his Pokemon. So Pryce attempt number 1, let's just lead off with the rollout on this very first seal. It goes for Icy Wind. We'll get a 3-hit KO on that Pokemon. Dugong comes out next and gets completely wrecked as we get to level 32. And then Piloswine cannot stand up to a single hit as we just roll out there. Pryce goes down on the first attempt. So just like that, Mew is moving on in the game, and I think next we just go ahead and take on Chuck's gym. Since we don't really have anything to be scared of there, we might need to upgrade our moveset with, maybe a Thunder Punch or something like that. But for now, I think we just stick with this moveset as it is and see if we can get through the gym. So first things first, we got to take on the Black Belt Bros. Our strongest move here is Surf, so I'm just going to try that. It's going to be a 2-hit KO on the first Hitmonlee, so we take it down nice and easy. That will bring out the Hitmonchan next, which we really don't need to worry about too much as long as we don't get a freeze. Instead, we get a crit and win. So with that, I'll just make my way through the rest of the randos and on to Chucky Boy himself, and let's just see how he goes. And here I think we just need one neutrally effective move, so I'm just going to learn Headbutt over Mud Slap, and let's just see if this is enough to get us through Chucky Boy here. I honestly just don't think we need Mud Slap strats with this Pokemon. So Chuck attempt number 1 against the Primeape, I'll just stick with Surf, and that is a 1-hit KO on that Pokemon. Poliwrath comes out next. We Headbutt, we get a flinch, we Headbutt again, we get a critical hit. He goes for Surf, and it's not enough. Even with the crit, he didn't get us below half health. So we level up to level 35 as we beat Chucky Boy on the first attempt. And with that, we should have all the moves that we need to completely destroy Jasmine. So let's just make our way straight over to her and hopefully get another nice, easy victory. So Jasmine attempt number 1, I didn't even heal coming into this. Let's just go Fire Punch on the Magnemite. That's a 1-hitter. Fire Punch on the second Magnemite also gets the 1-hit KO. Now on the Steelix, we go Surf, and this is a 1-hit KO as well. So we did not need any help on Jasmine whatsoever. We get through on the first attempt, and we're ready to move on in the game with our Mew. And it learns every TM, so we should always have an answer to everything in front of us, like in the next section. Obviously, some Ice Punch will come in, but honestly, I just don't see any way that this Pokemon ever fails. If it does, I'm going to be really, really shocked. At the very least, for now, through 7 gyms, it just completely dominates Johto. That brings us to the final Pokemon, Celebi. I'm going to have to come back after I pick up my baby boy from school to do that one, because this Pokemon might actually be hard. So just like that, we have reached the final Pokemon in this section. We are coming in with Celebi, knowing Confusion, Leech Seed, Recover, and Ancient Power. I think this Pokemon is going to be a little bit tough to get through Jasmine in particular. So we're just going to have to see how that goes. We've also got a little bit of a weakness when we get to Pryce, though Pryce tends to punt. So we may be all right here, but I think our best play is to go down to Chuck's gym first. Obviously, we've got some nice resistances down there that will allow us to hopefully get through together with our stab Confusion. So that just makes the most sense to me as the logical way to go, and we will make our way through the lighthouse on our way down there. Who knows, we may be going for some Omni Boost here or something in a really tough spot in order to get through, especially when we get to Jasmine herself, just because we're not really going to have any good moves there. We should get Future Sight, which could be a strategy since Future Sight ignores type effectiveness. So that could be a strategy against the Steelix, but I'm honestly not sure if that's going to be worthwhile or not. Mud Slap is also an option. We could go Mud Slap Leech Seed type of strats here. I'm honestly just not sure what the best strategy will be. But first things first, let's take on the Black Belt Bros and just see how they go with our Celebi here. We're going to lead off, of course, with Confusion against the first Hitmonlee. It does over half. Jump Kick does nothing, and we just knock it out the next turn. That will bring out the Hitmonchan, which should be no problem for us here, unless it goes for some like Ice Punch and gets a freeze. We confuse it, it hits itself in confusion, and that just guarantees the victory. So we get to level 30 right here. We can learn Future Sight, and I'm honestly debating whether or not I want to. I think I'm going to stick with my moveset as it is right now. This could be a mistake. Tell me if you think so in the comment section. But honestly, I just don't see a situation where I want to forget any of my other moves. I think Leech Seed actually has a lot of value, as does Recover. Ancient Power could give us Omni Boost, and Confusion is our only stab move. So for now, I'm going to skip that move. It may turn out to be a mistake when I get later on. We'll just have to see. For now, though, we should get through the rest of the randos, so let's just make our way straight to Chucky Boy. And sure enough, we make it to Chuck with no issues, so let's just see if we can beat him since we resist water and fighting type moves. Chuck attempt number 1 right here. I'm going to go Confusion on the Primeape and get a one-hit KO. That brings out the Poliwrath, where I'll just go for Confusion. It does half. He misses the Hypnosis, and we win. So Chuck was no issue whatsoever there. We get a very, very easy victory, and now we can move on in the game. Now, the big issue for Celebi, honestly, is that all of the good grass and psychic type moves are all locked in Kanto. You cannot get any of them here in Johto, which is really just bizarre to me. Why they made it so that theoretically, like, the main mythical Pokemon of the generation would get no moves in the first half of the game has just always kind of boggled my mind. Because really, Celebi has an amazing moveset overall when you consider that it could get Stab, Giga Drain, get Psychic, etc. It is one of those weird Pokemon that gets Dream Eater and Nightmare in spite of the fact that it can't learn a sleep-inducing move, which is a little bizarre for a grass type. But honestly, like, you would think that this Pokemon could be really, really solid if it just got access to its best moves this early in the game. Like, if this were a Gen 1 Pokemon, I think it would completely crush Kanto. And if it could take Gen 1 moves to Johto, I also think it would crush. It's just a matter of the fact that those moves aren't really available at this point. Anyway, we'll just take advantage of the fact that we can come beat up on a bunch of rockets right now and gain more levels since we are in that medium slow level up group. So let's just get the easy levels while they're available, but we're also going to see how we do against some Magnemites down here, which could be tough. Now, at least against Jed's Magnemites that are 12 levels lower than us, we can get 2-hit KOs with Confusion here, so these aren't actually that bad. The bigger issue is that we're going to be dealing with Paralysis later on, and that's going to be the issue against Jasmine, I think. Still, with those going down nice and easy, we can make our way through the rest of the Rocket Hideout pretty easily, so let's just get the levels while we can, and then go take on Pryce, since I think he's going to be actually easier than Jasmine. So sure enough, we get through the whole Rocket Hideout with no issues. We can go ahead and take on the last executive here, where we've got Confusion for the Arbok. This is going to be a one-hit KO. Funny enough, I thought it would be a two-hitter, but it was a one-hitter. Here against the Murkrow, we just go for the Ancient Power and get the easy KO, getting to level 34. And then we go Confusion on the Gloom, getting a one-hit KO as well. So we easily move through that section of the game. And now it's time to go try our hands at Pryce. So Pryce attempt number 1, let's just see how he goes with our Celebi. So first up against the Seal, we don't really have anything super effective, so I'm just going to go Confusion here. It's going to be a 2-hit KO on this Pokemon, and we easily get through to the Dugong. Now we can go Ancient Power, which does over half. Aurora Beam did decent damage, but we still managed to knock that Pokemon out. That brings out the Piloswine. It's going to be neutrally affected by Ancient Power. I'm kind of hoping for an Omni boost here, which is why I'm using this move. Once we get him into the Hyper Potion range, I'm switching to Confusion. I will also recover just to make sure I have enough HP if he does decide to go for a blizzard on me. And this looks like a 3-hit KO. We survive the blizzard and we get the victory on the first attempt. We get to level 35 as we defeat Pryce. So that's 6 gyms down. Now we need to see if we can get the 7th. This is where this one might get really tough. We're just gonna have to see if it works out or not against Jasmine. Mud Slap strats are available here if we really get desperate, because we could be going for some accuracy plus healing sort of strategy, but honestly that's about the best that we've got. I'm going to go in as I am first though and just see if I can manage to somehow make this work. I will put on a paralyzed cure berry as well, just to give the chance to recover the status if I need to. Let's see if this is possible or not. So Jasmine attempt number 1. I'm going to see what different moves do here. First off, Confusion on the Magnemite appears to be a 3-hit KO. We get paralyzed turn 1 by Thunder Wave. Then we get a critical hit knocking out the first Magnemite. That brings out the Steelix, interestingly enough. So I'm going to set up Leech Seed here and then go for Confusion. I kind of want to confuse it. We're doing decent damage actually, and we have Recover. So if we don't take too many defense drops or critical hits like that, we can recover back the damage. She ends up having the Hyper Potion right there. And this is where the Leech Seed is super valuable. It just allows us to get that passive chip healing. It's basically kind of like having leftovers here in Johto. And so even though she did decent damage there, Leech Seed takes the Steelix down. We get to the second Magnemite. I'm going to Leech Seed here. We get paralyzed, but now I'm going to go for the recovery since it's not going to deal enough damage with Sonic Boom. And basically we can go for damage whenever we're on decent enough health, and otherwise try to recover. And it's just slowly getting chipped down here as we recover. That's all we need. We actually beat Jasmine on the first attempt. That is why I wanted to keep Leech Seed. Leech Seed actually is kind of OP. As long as you have Recover to go with it, you can get that passive healing. It's kind of nuts. And honestly, if we can find a way to find at least some opponent that we can get that passive healing off of, we might have a chance in any fight with this Celebi. So interesting to see that we actually managed to get it to work, and Celebi moves on without nearly as much difficulty as I expected. And with that, we have completed the entire Jasmine Minimum Battle series. Let's look at our final results as we get ready for the next section, where we're going to be taking on Claire and Rival 5. We're going to be right on the doorstep of the Elite Four as we finish the next part of the game. And coming back to our summary page, we can see that we have completed the Jasmine Minimum Battle series with 114 Pokemon legitimately getting through this section of the game. We lost only 4 Pokemon, in spite of the fact that Jasmine has the reputation of being one of the toughest gym leaders in the game. The fact is that with rare candies, plus all of the different mechanics and TMs that are available, it is possible to actually get through with an awful lot of Pokemon once you figure out the strategies. Yes, some Pokemon needed to go OP TMs, the Max Friendship Return, the Game Corner TMs, etc., but not really that many when you think about it. I mean, that's 22 Pokemon, but an awful lot of those are unevolved forms. Right? We're talking about baby Pokemon. We're talking about things like Houndour and Eevee actually being able to complete this section thanks to the fact that those TMs exist. So it's kind of nuts in the end that I thought we would be whittled down to far fewer Pokemon than this by the time we got through 7 gyms. But the existence of all of these TMs and all of the mechanics that the game gives you do make it possible to get through to this point. Now, I think that there are a lot of Pokemon that will fall off in the next section. Number 1, Kingdra doesn't really have any type weaknesses. I mean, unless you've got Dragon type moves, which is basically Dragonite and Dragonair, you're not going to have anything super effective there. So at best, you're going to be dealing neutral damage. And a lot of the Dragon type Pokemon have pretty strong moves in that gym. I mean, she's like a mini non-flying version of Lance. Plus, we've got a couple of rivals to get through that are going to have full teams with a lot of coverage. So we're just going to have to see how many Pokemon actually make it to the league. I think some of these unevolved forms could start falling off, especially if they don't have any good moves in that section. But then where I think the real gauntlet is going to happen is at the league, when we actually have to take on each member one by one. And we're going to be doing it exactly like that when we get there. We're going to do the Will Minimum Battle Series, the Koga Minimum Battle Series, the Bruno Minimum Battle Series, which might actually eliminate some Pokemon, funny enough. The Karen Minimum Battle Series, I think, is going to be brutal. And then when we finally make our way to Lance, I'm just saying, in my experience doing solo runs, he is no pushover in this generation. He is pretty darn solid. So we'll just have to see how it goes. How many Pokemon out of this 136 that have legitimately gotten through either with OPTMs or just normal passes do you think will still be there at the end? Let me know in the comments. But for now, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who supports the channel. I can't thank you guys enough. Here in 2026, we're going to be doing a lot more of this minimum battle series. I promise you, we're going to get through Johto this year. That is my goal. So let's get to it. Anyway, that's all I got for this one. I will see you guys in the next one later.